Hollywood, starting from animation. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, Zhu Ke purges dissidents. The next day, Chairman, what do you want me to do? On the second day, Zhu Ke took office as chairman of McAfee. Antivirus, the company's shareholder William Kervil was brought in for a detailed discussion. William, if I remember correctly, you are also one of the founders of McAfee, Zhu asked. Yes it is, William Kervil nodded. There is nothing to hide. As soon as you look it up, since the establishment of McAfee in 1987, William Kervil has been the veteran of the company, and he boldly invested all his net worth of $300,000, and also served as the first director of the design department of McAfee. It can be said that William Kervil made great contributions to McAfee. However, the result, in 1996, William Kervil lost to former chairman SYNOPSIS in an internal struggle, and all management positions were relieved, leaving only one shareholder seat. As grievances towards the former chairman SYNOPSIS cannot be finished in a day or two, I came to you to ask you if you are interested in regaining the position of director of the design department, Zhu Ke said with a smile. Are you serious? Suddenly, William was extremely excited. Of course, you, William Kervil, our talent. You stepped down in 1996. However, in recent years, the development concept of McAfee's antivirus software, you said, which one is not the one you left behind? Zhu Ke exclaimed. Hearing that, William Kervil immediately expressed the color of pride. In fact, the former chairman SYNOPSIS is indeed a courageous guy. After all, he will run for the President of the United States in the future. It has excellent management of companies and enterprises. But, speaking of McAfee's core competitiveness in the field of antivirus, William Kervil, the loser, is the talent in this field. Zhu Ke asked again, how about it? Do you want to re-elect the position of director of the design department and R&D department? Please tell me. Of course I agree. A fool would not agree. I dream of looking forward to this day. William Kervil called in excitement at the moment. Not long after Zucker finished the interview with William Kervil, he interviewed the company's vice president, Daler Fowler. When it comes to McAfee antivirus software, many people first think of George SYNOPSIS, the former chairman, but the person who really made McAfee antivirus software one of the world's largest antivirus software. But it was Dale Fowler. In 2006, the American regulatory agency filed a complaint in a federal state court against McAfee's equity awards for serious violations. The amount of illegal and illegal cases involved is as high as $100 million to $150 million in the end. After 3 months of investigation and evidence collection, McAfee's serious violations of equity awards were thoroughly confirmed. Company president Kevin Weiss was fired. The company's chairman George SYNOPSIS was forced to retire early. In just 1 week, more than 10 executives from McAfee have stepped down, and more than 50 people were involved in the case. The market value of McAfee has been cut by 1/3, which can be described as heavy losses, and the person who brought McAfee out of the quagmire to a more brilliant future is the vice president Daler Fowler. From today, you will act as CEO of McAfee, Zhu Ke said straight to the point. Dale Fowler. To be honest, Dale Fowler was taken aback. However, capable people are always the ones who make the most preparations. Although Zhu Ke's words surprised him, he did not hesitate to respond. Zhu Ke smiled and said, although it is only acting as CEO of McAfee, it is not a formal appointment, but I can assure you that as long as you do a good job, I will definitely make you the true CEO of the company as soon as the board of directors meets next time. Official. Yes, boss. Dale Fowler never doubted his abilities. The home of former chairman George SYNOPSIS. Boom. George SYNOPSIS has never had a good temper. This is the third table he has overturned in a few days. Damn Zhu Ke Wald, he has only been the chairman of the board for a few days, and he has begun to purify dissidents. SYNOPSIS' eyes were full of anger. He is really unscrupulous. Jack Hobson, one of the shareholders of McAfee, gritted his teeth and said, in just a few days, from the acting CEO to the design department, the director of the R&D department, to the accounting department, manpower department, post-production department, legal department, almost all of these important positions have been changed by him. Hearing this, SYNOPSIS said solemnly, in other words, the management power of the company is now in his hands. Jack Hobson nodded heavily. It's not too late for a gentleman to take revenge for 10 years. The villain takes revenge from morning till night. Zhu acts for people and never conceals that he is a villain. Gentlemen, in a cannibalistic business environment, a gentleman will be swallowed up by wolves, and only a villain can have the last laugh. Since Zhu has ousted SYNOPSIS from office and kicked out of the company, he naturally has to cut the grass and roots. Of course, he does not mean to kill him, but he still has to get rid of his influence in McAfee. Eliminating dissidents is just the first step in the future. Zhu will continue to inject capital to dilute the equity of SYNOPSIS' old party. George, you have a good mind. You have to think of a way, otherwise our McAfee company will really become his Zhu Ke Walds. Jack Hobson was distraught a long time. SYNOPSIS shook his head with a gloomy expression, and said, "There is no solution, we can only wait." Wait? What are you waiting for? Jack Hobson asked hurriedly. Wait for him to make a mistake. As long as Zhu Ke Wald makes a huge mistake, we are entangled with those clutter, and we are bound to be able to regain the power of the company. SYNOPSIS said solemnly. Make a mistake. Jack Hobson immediately brightened his eyes and clapped his hands in applause. That's right, McAfee is an antivirus software company. Zhu Ke Wald is okay with movies and finance. Does antivirus software have a good time? It's up to us in the end. Of course www.wooksiasp.com. Zhu doesn't know what SYNOPSIS is planning now, but does Zhu need to worry? Not at all. McAfee's peak market value in the future is more than $8 billion, but look, Zhu's other investments, Google, Amazon, Mars, which of these companies' future earnings will not far exceed McAfee? The reason why Zhu wants to seize McAfee power from SYNOPSIS is because since the two have a grievance, Zhu will naturally kill you with one blow. If you can't beat you, he will also seriously injure you. Secondly, McAfee's power is related to a big plan for Zhu Ke's future. With McAfee in hand, in the future, Zhu will definitely be able to make big plans much easier. The third update is sent. Chapter 402, Amazon Earnings Report released. Burbank Villa Night, boss, Mr. Bezos is here, Alexander said. Oh? What are you waiting for? Let him come over, just let him grill chicken wings. After that, Zhu put a layer of honey on several pairs of chicken wings on the grill on a quiet and peaceful night, in the grassy courtyard. It is definitely a wonderful thing to set up a barbecue grill, bring a few bottles of wine, and drink with others. No, Zhu Ke is doing it, but there was one time, the night in Los Angeles in July was really hot enough. Even if Zhu Ke put a few fans in the courtyard, he was still sweating profusely. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Zhu. After Jeff Bezos entered the courtyard of the villa, Zhu and Jeff nodded to each other, even if they had said hello on a hot day. Who would shake hands and hug if nothing happened? If you don't die from heat, then you have to be slimy, I said. Buddy, you are here today. Try the chicken wings I personally grilled. Well, let me tell you in addition that the chicken wings I chose today are not bought on the market, but produced on my own farm. Zhu said several pairs of chicken wings were neatly arranged in front of Bay's bald head. Not bad, Bay said after eating a few chicken wings. Zhu Ke immediately clapped his hands and exclaimed, I said that my technique is very good. Oh, yes, I have an idea. Do you want to do it together? What is it? But Bezos is not interested. He really knows that Zhu has a lot of spooky ideas, but he can make money. All of a sudden, Bezos' interest increased. Agricultural products company. Zhu Ke shook his fist, like a speaker standing on the podium. His expression was full of excitement. Man, although the current medical system is quite developed, and food sanitation and water sanitation have also been improved, and the state governments have also issued a variety of laws and regulations, but to be honest, I think the quality and sanitation can be improved again. Green Health, the agricultural product company I want to set up is as small as melons, fruits, vegetables and drinking water, and it can achieve genetic research and new drug introduction. In a word, it will cover everything. Zhu kept waving his fists in the air. In contrast, Bay's bald head is definitely a black line at the moment. Zhu, if you do these useless things with me again, do you believe me and leave now? Bezos gritted his teeth. I took off my pants. So are you talking to me? Okay, I was wrong. Zhu Ke made a guilty expression, waved his hand, and said sternly, in the past 3 months, how many Amazon shares have you received? I bought 7 million shares of Amazon stock at an average price of $9. Well, that's almost the case. Bay's bald head also became serious. Zhu nodded. 7 million shares of Amazon stock, with an average price of $9, which means that more than $63 million were spent, accounting for roughly 1% of the total equity. Then your current shareholding ratio is roughly 23.2%. Zhu Ke said solemnly. Do not. Bald head showed a sly smile. At this time tomorrow, there should be 23.8% of the shares. At about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the Amazon shares held by Old Terra will be sold to me. You move fast enough, Zhu Ke exclaimed upon hearing this. Bald head immediately smiled and cursed. Don't say you didn't buy back many stocks, then I absolutely don't believe it. Zhu Ke chuckled indeed. In the recent past, Zhu Ke has also repurchased a lot of Amazon stock so far. Zhu Ke's Amazon stock has exceeded 7.5%, which is only 0.5% less than when it was not sold. Think about it, man, the current Amazon stock price is less than $8.40, and before the internet bubble burst, Amazon's single share price was more than $120, one after the other, one selling and one repurchase. Zhu Ke made no less than $2 billion in it. This profit income alone is enough to make countless people jealous. Our repurchase of stocks has to be accelerated. After all, it has not been long since Amazon's new quarterly earnings announcement. Zhu Ke laughed. Bald nodded and solemnly said, it is indeed necessary to speed up the action. Moreover, we can't eat alone, we must let some people join in, otherwise we will become the target of everyone. Internet thinking refers to making the plate bigger, the cake bigger, and the market bigger. Only by making money together can we maximize the benefits. Eat alone. In the internet field, the most taboo is to eat alone. You are not good at being other shareholders. In mid-July, Amazon's new quarterly earnings report is finally released. Last quarter, Amazon achieved profitability, $5.5 million in profit. Less, however, you have to know that Amazon is still able to make a profit when the internet company is not making money. This is definitely the only thing that's scorpion shit. In addition, the internet industry is currently in depression as a whole, and even large companies such as Microsoft, Cisco, Yahoo, and Oracle have shown losses in their recent financial reports, but Amazon has made a profit. Ever since, Amazon was able to make more than $5 million in profit, shocking the United States. Washington Post published an article, Amazon, it is the first internet company in the United States to achieve profitability after the internet bubble burst. The New York Times published an article saying, Amazon, which is steady and stable, is bound to rise quickly. Bloomberg News published an article saying, there is no doubt that Amazon has achieved profitability and injected a forceful needle into the current erosive internet market. For a time, many well-known media and newspapers across the United States, including some entertainment tabloids, continued to report this phenomenon. Amazon is an internet myth that emerged in the mid to late 1990s. At the end of the 1990s, all major internet companies focused on expanding user groups and expanding markets. As for the issue of profitability, many companies did not consider it. The result, the capital chain is tight, and even collapsed. On the day the internet bubble burst, as many as 500 listed companies directly declared bankruptcy. On the other hand, Amazon, which has been steadily, is the first internet company to achieve profitability even though its market value has lost hugely. This alone has surpassed many companies and has become a star company in the internet field. Why in 2020, Amazon's single share price exceeds $2,000, becoming the world's highest single share company after the internet bubble. It became the first internet company to achieve profitability and won the trust of investors and the market. The next day, many investors and investment institutions have focused their attention on Amazon. The most direct response was that Amazon's stock price rose by $3 that day, returning to more than $10 in one fell swoop. At the same time, Zhu Ke and Bald, together with more than a dozen shareholders, initiated a purchase from certain shareholders to acquire Amazon stocks in their hands. Do not, I reject, yes, I also refuse. Amazon has regained the trust of stockholders and the market. I firmly believe that the stock price is bound to usher in a wave of gains. I will sell my shares to you now? Haha, I'm not stupid. After the internet bubble, the first company in the United States to achieve profitability, the name alone, the future of Amazon, is enough to look forward to. For a while, Zhu Ke, Guangtao and others encountered great obstacles in their repurchase of Amazon stock. Zook, what should I do now? Bald had looked a little gloomy. www.wooksyaspit.com. Haha. Zhu smiled and said, man, don't worry. Do you really think Amazon's stock price will not fall anymore? Upon hearing this, Bald immediately shrank his pupils. Amazon stock price soared. Zhu can only he, classmate Zhu Ke is a traverser. You know, Amazon stock price has indeed achieved a wave of gains in the near future, but the internet is generally eroded. After a wave of gains, The stock price will fall back shortly. $2 By the second half of 2001, Amazon's stock price will continue to fall by $2. We have so much time. Zhu Ke smiled. The first update is sent. Chapter 403, Capital Empire was first formed. Seattle office of the chairman of Amazon.com, boss, if you're suspicious, Zhu Ke Wald is not a trustworthy guy, Andy Jassy said. I know. Jeff Bezos, the chairman of Amazon, sitting behind his desk, nodded and smiled. His cunning level. Others may be confused because of his age, but I have known him for several years, so I can say that he has an extremely deep understanding. Well, let's put it this way, he is a person with an extremely keen awareness of the situation, analysis and direction. After a pause, he said, the most important thing is that he has a very low bottom line, a low bottom line, beyond the imagination of many people. In a business environment, this kind of person is particularly scary. The voice fell. Andy Jassy breathed a sigh of relief. He knows that his boss and Zhu Ke are very good friends, but because of this, he is worried. After all, the person who stabbed the knife in the back is just the best friend you know. Do not worry, although he is cunning, he's extremely honest. Well, at least it helped me a lot with a loan of $500 million. Otherwise, I want to repurchase Amazon's stock. It will definitely not happen overnight, of course. I also know that he borrowed $500 million to me, also wanting me to stand in front and share the firepower for him. Otherwise, if he alone absorbs so many Amazon stocks, he can only become the target of public criticism. Now it is different. I have also repurchased a large number of stocks, so the shareholders within the company and those who desperately want to invest in us, the investment agency of the United States, is bound to focus on me. Jeff Bezos, share the risk and firepower. From the time he borrowed $500 million from Zhu Ke, Bei Bald knew that Zhu Ke was very greedy for Amazon's shares. Bei Guangtao also wants to buy back more shares. The two hit it off. Recently, after taking a wave of shares, Zhu Ke and Bei Guangtao cleverly attracted a group of shareholders and management, and shared a wave of shares together. Only by pulling in more allies, Zhu Ke and Bezos can sit firmly on the Mount Tarzan. Boss, I think for Zhu Ke Wald, we still have to be more vigilant. Even if it is not now, but also for the future. Andy Jassy continued. He is a cautious man and a sharp blade in Bei's bald head. Recently, Zhu Ke entered the McAfee antivirus company, expelled Samanuk, the founder and chairman of the company, from the company, relieved all positions, and cleansed out a group of veterans, but it caused a lot of shock from the outside world. Take someone else's company, good to say, not good to hear. Also because of this incident, all the companies that Zhu Ke has invested in now have increased their vigilance against Zhu Ke. For fear of stepping into Samanuk's footsteps, Bezos laughed and said, Samanuk is also a shrewd guy, but, I am not him. The McAfee company left him, and it's still working, but Amazon has left me. You see, it still doesn't turn around. In words, Bezos was full of strong self-confidence. Many companies regard Zhu Ke as a tiger, leopard and jackal. But Bezos is not at all worried about Zhu Ke's usurpation. I don't understand other people. He's Zhu Ke Wald. I know too deeply. He sees the power of McAfee, not only the value of McAfee itself, but most of the factors were deliberately targeted. Samanuk himself. Bezos laughed. Deliberately targeting Samanuk. Isn't this a villain? Andy Jassy exclaimed. Spending those huge sums of money is mainly for targeting one person. This proper prodigal behavior. Bezos glanced at Andy Jassy and said solemnly, he is not so much a villain, but a villain who will repay you. But one thing is that he is also a very utilitarian person with a tendency to purpose. McAfee is unprofitable, so even if he wants to retaliate against Samanuk, he will never spend a penny more. Contradiction. Yes, Zhu Ke is a very contradictory person. Sometimes Javier must be reported, but the premise is to be profitable. Otherwise Zhu Ke will definitely choose to forbearance, keep grudges in his heart, and when the time comes, he will inevitably retaliate. For example, the contradiction between Zhu Ke and Time Warner. Time Warner is very strong now, and even if Zhu Ke intends to retaliate, it will never be now. Hitting a rock with a pebble is the most undesirable method. Zhu Ke is wait for Time Warner and AOL to split. By then, Zhu Ke will definitely push behind. Boss, it's amazing. You know Zhu Ke Wald better than he himself. Andy Jassy was amazed hearing this. Bezos couldn't help but be pleased. Others praise. Bezos is very likely to sneer and dismiss it. However, the praise of Andy Jassy. Bezos is very useful. Amazon, founded by Bezos, and its executives have been speculated by outsiders, esteem, Bezos has an executive team of about 17 people, known as the S-Team within Amazon. The members of the S-Team will cooperate with each other on major decisions, strategic issues, and so on. After reaching a decision, the members of the team will act as strategic apostles and lead their respective departments forward. Although Amazon is a listed company, the management structure of Amazon, including the S-Team, is not widely known to the outside world. Amazon's public documents only list a few company executives, and insiders say that even internally, the S-Team does not have an official list. There is no doubt that the S-Team has made great contributions to Bezos himself and Amazon. Andy Jassy is one of the members of the S-Team. In the future, Amazon's cloud computing business has achieved great success, which is led by Andy Jassy. At the same time, Zhu Ke is also thinking and contemplating at home, being in charge of McAfee, antivirus, company, anti-customer oriented. I am really happy, but it also brings a lot of negative effects. Zhu Ke knows this, deeply opposing the guest and usurping the throne, even in the United States, where money is supreme, is often criticized. Especially for those companies that Zhu Ke has already invested in and occupy a lot of shares, their founders will increase their vigilance against Zhu Ke. However, Zhu Ke is not particularly worried. Microsoft, is it less of an anti-customer oriented thing? Will it be criticized again? Will not. Big fish eat little fish. As long as the strength is strong enough, the capital is large enough, and the money is enough, people will not criticize them even if they are anti-customer oriented. 10 companies and 20 companies, but they will only say that they were acquired by Microsoft, which is their luck. Similarly, time will smooth everything out. After Zhu Ke figured out everything, he couldn't help but feel much better so far. Zhu Ke has passed through, and it has been a small achievement in the internet, film, television, radio, real estate, financial investment, these various fields. www.uxias.com. Zhu Ke has strong strength, and the embryonic form of all capital empires has been completed. What is lacking now is stability. As long as I can stabilize and integrate a series of companies that I have recently acquired, and do some intensive work, it won't be too long. As long as there is another 3 to 5 years, then I will expand and acquire a wave of mergers and acquisitions. Before the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, I can complete the construction of the capital empire. Zhu Ke is greedy, stingy, and he must be repaid. It can be described as a lot of shortcomings, but at the same time, Zhu Ke is a man with a very clear goal. Zhu Ke dare not say that his company will be prosperous in the future, but Zhu Ke can guarantee that his company will definitely be the best in the United States in terms of anti-risk. I'm so confident, Zhu Ke secretly said. The second update is sent thanks to the Devil Wang Zia Ocean and Han Wang Zjiu for their rewards. Chapter 404, X-Men released. Tuesday, July 11, 2000, Los Angeles Grand Theater, 20th Century Fox Pictures, one of the 6 major Hollywood films, will be here today to host the grand premiere of the film X-Men 1, adapted from the well-known comics red carpet. Media reporters, fans of comics, grand viewing. These are of course standard for the movie premiere. Moreover, the 20th Century Fox Pictures made a lot of money for the premiere of the X-Men movie, and it is definitely not a lie. Fox Pictures is really willing to spend money. Who said no? Just add up the venue fee, contracting fee, clothing fee, etc. Today they spent no less than $1.5 million. What is this? That is, the production cost of X-Men alone is as high as $75 million, and according to sources, Murdoch personally issued the order. X-Men announced the budget, no less than $40 million. There is no doubt that X-Men is the most invested in Hollywood comics in recent years. The media reporters on both sides of the red carpet talked lively before the stars, directors, producers, and invited guests arrived on the scene. After all, their job is for this. I said, guys, did you forget about Wald Pictures' Spider-Man? Suddenly, the words of a reporter exploded in the crowd. Spider-Man by Wald Pictures. Suddenly, many media reporters couldn't help but pat their heads, calling out that they had forgotten to say the production cost of X-Men is as high as $75 million, and the propaganda budget is not less than $40 million. But, what about Spider-Man? The production cost of Spider-Man is as high as $150 million, which is nearly $10 million more than the original space-time version, and the announcement budget is more than $60 million. Well, if necessary, Zhu Ke also plans to add additional promotional funds. In fact, the reason why the media reporters at the scene suddenly forgot about Spider-Man is excusable. The heart of Wald Pictures is really big enough, a young reporter said. In May and June, the propaganda of Spider-Man, the propaganda on TV, radio, and stage dramas, can be said to be on a grand scale, and there was a lot of excitement, but, since the beginning of July, they consciously reduced the proportion of announcements, so that X-Men came from behind. The voice just fell, idiot. A middle-aged reporter next to the young reporter sneered and said, at first glance, you just entered the industry. What do you know, huh? The young reporter was taken aback. There was another older reporter around, haha, and laughed. Young man, that is, you still have the sign of an intern reporter. If you look at everyone, some people think that Wald Pictures is wrong. Suddenly, many reporters around couldn't help laughing. Industry tacit understanding. X-Men was released more than half a month earlier than Spider-Man, and the two must be staggered for a certain period of time in publicity. This is a tacit understanding of the industry from big companies for movies that are not released at the same time. The film company behind them has a tacit understanding of the industry, otherwise it will be provocation or even a declaration of war. Both parties who break the tacit understanding of the industry are bound to kill 1,000 enemies and lose 800. Wald Pictures is not stupid. X-Men and Spider-Man are comics from Marvel Comics. X-Men will be released half a month later. It can be said that as long as X-Men a huge success is the best publicity for Spider-Man, a female reporter explained with a smile. That's the case. Thank you for the explanation of this female reporter. The young and new intern reporter hurriedly expressed his gratitude. At the same time, the fan community that wanders around the red carpet is also very lively at the moment. Awesome, mutant manga series. But my beloved, now it is finally on the big screen. Yes, first Blade Warrior was a blockbuster, now it's X-Men, and soon Spider-Man will also be released. Think about seeing those superheroes on the big screen. I am very excited. In the past few years, Marvel has had a faint taste of the West. But you have to admit that the comics produced by Marvel are the childhood of many American citizens. It is indeed a memorable and yearning thing for them to be able to see their favorite comic characters on the big screen one by one. The premiere of X-Men was held in Los Angeles on the West Coast, but there are still many people who are far away from Florida, Virginia, Maine, etc., who made a special trip here just to see it. Welcome to Director Spielberg, welcome to Director James Cameron, welcome to Mr. Tom Hanks. From Hollywood celebrities, directors, producers, film company owners and other people from all walks of life have walked the red carpet as a new Hollywood media tycoon and entertainment tycoon. Zhu Ke was naturally invited. Kevin Feige, vice president of Wald Pictures, Spider-Man director Sam Raimi, the two of them walked onto the red carpet with Zhu Ke. Kevin, Lauren Schuler, the producer of X-Men. Should you be familiar with it? Zhu Ke asked with a smile. Yes, it is. Kevin Feige nodded and said, I worked as an assistant to Ms. Schuler for more than 4 years before I graduated from college. If you hadn't commissioned a headhunting company to bring me to Wald Pictures, it is estimated that now, I am either at Marvel, or continue to follow Ms. Schuler. Lauren Schuler, also known as Lauren Schuler Downer, is one of the best female producers in Hollywood. The future of the X-Men series, Wolverine series, and Deadpool series are all planned and built by Lauren Schuler. Even www.uxiaspit.com throughout the 20th Century Fox until 2020. It has produced 12 mutant series of movies. She is in her presence. Marvel superhero movies have failed to become popular and popular all over the world. Lauren Schuler is definitely one of the biggest promoters. She's amazing. Zucker sighed. It's very powerful. Arguably one of the most powerful female producers, Kevin Feige said at this time. The director Sam Raimi interjected, Mr. Wald, didn't you think about digging her into your company? Dig it over. Zhu shook his head. Where have you thought about it? In fact, Zhu has acted, but she resolutely refused, and still many times. First update, thank you for your support, cute. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, box office over $50 million in 3 days in the first weekend. Mr. Wald, Director Sam, Mr. Kevin, please stay. After crossing the fan area, crossing the media reporter area, and passing the end of the red carpet, the three Zhu Ke were retained by the off-site host at the premiere. The outfield host simply chats a few words, which is the norm at the premiere. Rebecca Murphy, female, 30 years old, is the host of the film channel of the Fox TV network. She hosted the North American Film Observation column, which is deeply loved by many fans of course. Rebecca Murphy has burgundy hair. Rebecca Murphy is quite beautiful. Mr. Wald, as far as I know, you have been invited to watch the film before X-Men 1 has finished its post-production. Rebecca laughed. Yes it is. Zhu Ke laughed and said, as everyone knows, Rupert and I are good friends. Before the late stage, soundtrack, dubbing, and special effects of X-Men were completed, he hurriedly invited me to watch the half-finished film. Director Bryan Singer has done a very good job. Even if it was a semi-finished product, everyone thought X-Men was pretty good looking. Participating in the film premiere held by another company, Zhu Ke of course wants to support it, otherwise, come and hit the place. In fact, Zhu Ke also wants to promote his movie Spider-Man by the way. However, this kind of thing does not need Zhu Ke to do it now, otherwise, what is it to raise so many horses? Directors Sam Raimi and Kevin Feige both did an excellent job. The success of X-Men is a high probability, and so is our Spider-Man. Kevin Feige said to the interview camera, the director of X-Men is Bryan Singer. He is my friend for many years. He filmed X-Men and I filmed Spider-Man. To be honest, I am going to change the superhero movie. A breakthrough achievement will be made in the hands of both of us. Director Sam Raimi appears more confident. Bryan Singer is not a general. X-Men series, Superman Returns, Giant Catcher Jack, Wolverine, restart version of X-Men series, TV series Doctor House series. These well-known film and television works were completed by Bryan Singer in 2017. Bryan directed the biographical film Bohemian Rhapsody, which was released worldwide. It created a production cost of $50 million and reached a global box office of $900 million. The film became the world's most popular biographical film in one fell swoop, broke a series of film history records. Well, Zhu Ke knows him well. Can you not understand? I have bought the script of Doctor House from David Shaw, and I will wait for Bryan Singer to be the director of the TV series. Zhu Ke thought secretly of course, things may not be negotiated after all. Bryan Singer's pay is not low, especially after the huge success of X-Men. Zhu Ke will undoubtedly pay more. Let's talk about it first. If the pay is too high for me to accept, I don't mind changing to another director. It's not just David Shaw. Hi, Zhu Ke. Long time no see. As a Hollywood celebrity and a well-known rich man in the United States, Zhu Ke is now the focus of wherever he goes. No, as soon as they entered the venue, many people greeted Zhu Ke. Zhu Ke responded with a smile one by one. I said, Zhu Ke, you really can hold your breath. Zhu smiled. Zhu, owner of New Line Pictures. Even though many of his company's shares are held by Disney, Shay still has noisy control of the New Line company. For this alone, his skill is quite powerful of course. His reputation is notorious enough. Which company is in arrears? The salary is better. Hollywood finds new lines. This is a joke edited by many netizens, but it is enough to reflect some of the situation of the New Line company. Even the well-known director Peter Jackson, for the pay and dividends of the Lord of the Rings series of films, has fought a lawsuit against the New Line company for several years. The arrears of other people can be imagined. Zhu continued. X-Men has held 19 screenings, and has received a high reputation rating of A, but what about you? Spider-Man movies have not been screened until today. This is enough. Strictly, Zhu Ke shook his head and said, man, I don't know about these. I am now busy making Tomb Raider. I won't tell him. Shay is not a good thing. His character is too bad. Zhu Ke's own bottom line is low enough, but Shay's bottom line is obviously even lower. But there is one thing, he is right. After the filming of Spider-Man was completed, there was no screening. Only a few major theaters in the United States had watched the movie in advance, but they were silent on the outside. Therefore, the mystery of Spider-Man has left the outside world a lot of speculation. Not long after, with X-Men director Bryan Singer, producer Lauren Schuler, the main actors Patrick, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen, Halle Berry and other crew chiefs, key kicks and body, the premiere officially opened. Superheroes such as Wolverine, Storm Girl, Phoenix Girl, Laser Eye, etc. have appeared on the screen one after another. The audience and invited guests on the scene gave X-Men a steadily increasing praise. Zhu Ke also watched with gusto. Although he had watched it more than once in his previous life, he still felt that it was so colorful. When he watched it again in 1997, after the release of Blade Warrior, it became a milestone in Marvel Comics comic film. In 2000, the release of X-Men was definitely able to completely open a superhero movie. However, my Spider-Man is the highest peak of the first stage of a superhero, Zhu shouted in his heart. Take a look at other superhero movies. Even for the X-Men movie, its production cost is only $75 million. On the other hand, the production cost of Spider-Man is as high as $150 million, which is exactly double the difference. It's really wonderful, Ziyi, the owner of the New Line Company, whispered to Zhu Ke. However, I believe that the Lord of the Rings movie produced by our company will be even better next year. Yes, Zhu nodded. Zhu Ke didn't mean to compliment Shaman. Lord of the Rings. Speaking of the highest peak of Hollywood magic movies, Zhu Ke dare not say which movie it is, but as of 2020, Zhu Ke dare to say that the Lord of the Rings series of movies is the highest peak of Hollywood magic movies. Envy. A few days later, the X-Men movie was officially released nationwide on the first day of the show. The works of Hollywood's major film and television companies were far behind. Even the 6 major Hollywood film companies have also smashed the war police. In the first weekend of 3 days, www.wuxiaspit.com in the United States won a box office of $54 million, ranking first at the same time. The performance of the X-Men movie was also the highest-grossing movie in the 20th Century Fox Pictures after its opening in 2000. There are media, film critics, movie audiences, peers, etc., and many people have praised X-Men. When will X-Men 2 be released? It has to be said that the great success of X-Men 1 has brought the market's desire for comic movies to a very high level ever since. Many people focus their attention on Spider-Man when it comes to the popularity of Marvel superheroes. Spider-Man through 3 streets of mutants. Spider-Man is one of the most well-known superheroes in the Marvel Comics system. The second update is sent. Thank you book friends for your rewards. Chapter 406. Zero Spider-Man. Golden Shuguang Entertainment Group Office of the Chairman, Boss. This is after the release of X-Men, the stock price changes of Fox Pictures in the 20th century and its related financial derivatives data. Alexander submitted a piece of information to Zucker. Zhu Ke stopped his work immediately, picked up this document and read it. Good guy, Zhu Ke praised. In terms of box office alone, the final box office revenue of X-Men can make 20th Century Fox earn tens of millions of dollars. Coupled with the offline market and surrounding revenue, a conservative estimate is that the profit is over 100 million yuan. Relax, however, the money they make from the financial market is actually more. You do not say. There are so many production companies in Hollywood, as many as stars. However, most of the production companies are fairly simple production companies, and their main income is the box office, offline DVD market, peripheral licensing, TV platform broadcasting, and so on. A production company with a good profit, with a profit of over 100 million a year, is more likely, when the income is not good, or if you lose a few bad movies, then this year is very likely to be for nothing. But, the big 6 in Hollywood are completely different. In addition to the box office, offline DVD market, peripheral licensing, TV platform broadcasting, etc., Hollywood's top 6 also sell financial derivatives related to movie entertainment. The common practice is that all the funds needed in the creation of a film can be turned into standardized financial or trust products for financing, and the relevant investors can also benefit from the stock market. Film finance, to put it bluntly, is the money-trapping action of the capital and film parties. Film finance and related financial derivatives, after the capital entered the market, have indeed prospered the market, but at the same time they have also planted great hidden dangers, because capital is chasing profits, and I like to make quick money. Boss, like this time X-Men, the production company 20th Century Fox, its financial and stock market earnings can definitely reach 5 to 8 times the box office earnings. This is also the reason why the big 6 in Hollywood have frequently invested and made high-cost movies in recent years. Alexander talked freely. Hearing this, Zhu Ke couldn't help but smile and said, "Not bad. Your understanding of the film market has become more profound. What is the box office? For the big 6 in Hollywood, they don't really care about the revenue of a movie at the box office. What they care about is how high they can pile up the box office. As long as the box office is high enough, they will be able to make more money from the movie-related stock market and financial derivatives market." Zhu Ke is also quite jealous. The 6 major Hollywood movies and the movies produced by Wald Pictures. If the 2 companies produced movies with a box office of more than 300 million US, then after excluding the cost of production, publicity, manpower, copying, etc., the earnings of the 6 major companies can definitely far exceed Wald Pictures. Why? Stock prices related to financial derivatives and movies have soared. How can the income of a simple film production company keep up with the soaring share prices of financial derivatives and movies, even if the profit-seeking behavior of capital will greatly harm the stability of the film market? Who cares? Every film director and producer is a financial expert. Zhu Ke's heart was filled with infinite sighs. Think about it, buddy. In the great China film market after 2015, those film companies have frequently invested heavily in filming blockbusters with a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. The vast majority of movies, the box office is dismal, can make people lose money, but those movies, why is the company so tirelessly investing in high-cost movies, financial derivatives, movie-related stock market? As long as one film is shut at the box office, they will be able to make a lot of money from the financial market. Well, even the losses caused by the previous box office failures can be earned back at once. Tusk, the movie company is in the financial sector. It is called a slip. Zhu Ke laughed. I am jealous. Ever since Zhu chose to join the same trend, you can engage in film finance, and so can I. In the past, Wald Films did not have the conditions to engage in film finance, but now it is different. The best films of Wald Pictures are frequently released, backed by the media company Golden Dawn Entertainment Group, which is fully equipped with all the necessary conditions for high film finance. Investors are everywhere. Mr. Mecca, do we really want to do this? The man who spoke was a middle-aged man who was an executive of a small investment bank on Wall Street. Mr. Mecca, also known as Hayda Mecca, is 56 years old and the owner of this small investment bank. Hayda Mecca smiled and said, Muni, you can rest assured. Although Wald Pictures has never engaged in movie finance before, this time the movie derivatives of Spider-Man are sold for the first time, but with confidence, it will definitely make us a fortune. Muni, he is still a little worried capital will always chase the winners. Wald Pictures has indeed made good films frequently before, but who can guarantee that Spider-Man will hit the box office? Man, the production cost of Spider-Man is as high as $150 million. Such high production costs and publicity costs mean higher risks, and investment banks like them cannot be cautious, especially in the post-internet bubble environment. Muni, I know your concerns, but if you think about 20th Century Fox's X-Men, the box office in the first 3 days of the first weekend exceeded $54 million. If you look at Fox's stock price, good guys, the benefit of rising stock prices exceeds $140 million. Financial derivative sales of more than $60 million. Boldly speaking, in 2 months, X-Men's traditional income can bring 20th Century Fox's income of no less than $100 million, and the stock price and financial derivatives income will be at least $300 million. Can even exceed $500 million. Look, the explosion of X-Men has ignited the superhero market. Nowadays, movie audiences are absolutely full of expectations for Spider-Man, which is also a comic film. I firmly believe that as long as we buy Spider-Man financial derivatives now, we will definitely be able to make a fortune. Hayda Mecca was impassioned, waving his arms and fists in mid-air as he spoke. Executive Muni was convinced at the same time. The entire Wall Street, it can be said that there are as many as 20 investment banks, and they have also focused their attention on the Spider-Man movie. www.wuxiaspit.com investment. Of course, there are risks, but I think Spider-Man has a big box office explosion. It is a high probability event. Losing money? Losing money means losing millions, but if we make money, then we can make at least $10 million. In a word, I am optimistic about the performance of Spider-Man. Large investment banks and capital may not appreciate this little profit, but those small investment banks and speculators will never let go of this opportunity, and they do not lack the psychology and courage of gamblers. The endless calls are not enough to describe their expectations for Spider-Man. Of course, Zhu Ke himself is also very much looking forward to the release of Spider-Man, wanting to see how many $1 billion it can make at the box office. The outside world also has a lot of predictions about the first day box office and the first weekend box office of Spider-Man. The first update is sent. Chapter 407, it is predicted that the box office will exceed $500 million. Wald's new work Spider-Man, the global box office must exceed $500 million. Hollywood Film Weekly, this special report article, once published, was recognized by most people in the market and the industry. Hollywood Film Weekly published an article. Since the establishment of Wald Films for several years, it has produced Lola Run, Fatal Turn, Human Removal Project, Fruit Hard Candy and other low-cost movies. The reputation is very good, and the box office performance is also good. At the same time, it also has the mythical performance of small cost and high box office such as Junia, My Grand Greek Wedding and Blair the Witch, breaking the box office record of a series of low-cost movies. Spartan 300 Warriors global box office, more than $600 million. Waterworld Animation, which is also under the Golden Dawn Entertainment Group, also has an animated film Finding Nemo, which has madly harvested a box office myth of $930 million on a global scale. There was Blade Warrior before and X-Men afterwards, and they all achieved good box office performance, and the production cost of Spider-Man is as high as $150 million. It is worth looking forward to. Warner Brothers Pictures President Barry Meyer stared at the newspaper in his hand, and the long silence made Lisa, the secretary beside him, silent. Sir, is Spider-Man really hot? The secretary frowned. I don't know. Barry Meyer shook his head, and said, when both Batman and Superman of Warner DC fail, no one can guarantee that Spider-Man will succeed, but, for now, it is a high probability that it will be popular. While speaking, Barry Meyer gritted his teeth. Batman and Superman are undoubtedly a thorn in his heart, as early as X-Men and Spider-Man were just established. Barry Meyer has repeatedly proposed to the company to restart the DC Comics adaptation of the film. Can the result? He was severely rejected. The heart is pouring inside the company too seriously. If it drags on for a few years, will there be DC Comics in the market? Barry Meyer was distraught. 20th Century Fox Pictures, boss, Zhu Ke Wald, that guy took us a huge advantage. An executive was filled with indignation. You do not say. The release dates of X-Men and Spider-Man are only 2 weeks apart. Due to the popularity of X-Men, the market has been looking forward to the Spider-Man, which is also a Marvel comic movie. Apart from other things, Zhu has saved a lot of money just for publicity expenses. Can't say that. Rupert Murdoch laughed and said, Zhu is still very useful, at least to help us get Marvel company. Otherwise, during the movie's release, those guys will definitely be hindered. Having said that, Murdoch is still a bit sour. Wald's new work Spider-Man, the global box office must exceed $500 million. This newspaper from the Hollywood Film Weekly is now on Murdoch's desk. My X-Men movie, its final box office drop point, according to the box office at home and abroad, will definitely not exceed $400 million. But what about him? There will be $500 million in box office. Can't help Murdoch not sour. Anyone who sees such data analysis can't help but taste it, let alone a big-time figure like him. Hollywood studios such as Paramount, Disney, Universal, and Columbus are also very sad, especially the Columbus Company. You must know that at the end of 1995, Columbus was almost able to take Spider-Man into the bag, and it was Zhu Ke who got in and cut Spider-Man. Now that Spider-Man is so hot, how can Columbus stay calm? Damn Spider-Man shit, go to hell. I wish you a fiasco at the box office. The executives of Sony Columbus are very clear that once Spider-Man explodes, some of the executives who were in charge of fighting for the copyright of Spider-Man will definitely face harsh criticism from the board of directors, or even serious ones will be dismissed. But, as the saying goes, when someone is worried, others are happy. For example, the investors of Spider-Man are very happy. The Carlos Family Foundation in Mexico, Daimler Automotive Group in Germany, Zim Inc., one of the 3 major theaters in the United States, and Mountain Capital of India. They are investors in Spider-Man who have recently paid close attention to the North American film market, especially the German Daimler Automobile Group. Movies are hot, so their cars are very popular. For this reason, the German Daimler Automobile Group specially designed new Mercedes-Benz cars for the Spider-Man movie, and the Spider-Man concept car, Zook. Don't worry, as long as the box office of Spider-Man exceeds expectations, then our Daimler Motor Group will provide $10 million in publicity funds. Germany's Daimler Motor Group is called an atmosphere who made their company's Mercedes-Benz, although famous, but also very competitive in the North American market, the head of the Carlos Family Foundation. Carlos Jr. also made a special call to Zhu. I dare not say anything else, but in Mexico and Central America, I promise to make Spider-Man a household name. He is also full of sincerity. At the end of July, when the X-Men film produced by Fox Pictures in the 20th century achieved a North American box office record of $108 million, on this day, Wald Pictures and its parent company Golden Dawn Entertainment Group held a grand Spider-Man premiere. On the day of the premiere, the invited guests and celebrities from all walks of life were no less inferior to the premiere of X-Men, or even worse. After all, Zhu still has a lot of friends in the internet field. It is no exaggeration to say, you reading www.uu can't you? Zhu's current social network is definitely not inferior to those top super rich. Spider-Man movie, at the premiere, finally unveiled its mystery. Zhu, owner of the New Line company, finally I can see it. After all, this Zhu didn't even hold a screening. Patrick, one of the top 3 of Summit Entertainment, still showing? The Cunning Wald pictures, even the trailer of Spider-Man, only has a short 10-second time, which can be said to have stunned the appetite. Lionsgate's owner Gusta said, just leave it alone. The Hollywood Film Weekly said that its global box office can exceed $500 million. I don't believe it very much, I only believe what my eyes see. Can Spider-Man exceed $500 million at the box office? Some people believe it, and naturally others doubt it. However, today there is a rough guess. The second update is sent. Chapter 408, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Movie screening. The big characters of Spider-Man are completely projected on the movie screen. Hi Parker, Peter Parker, seeing us, why do you lower your head? Coward. Not long after the beginning of the film, Peter Parker, as the actor, was bullied by several classmates. Even his beloved camera was almost broken by a bunch of bad boys. Peter Parker, who is not handsome, a little shy, and has a weak male protagonist, just made his appearance. Both parents have died, not many friends, and a shy personality. This is exactly the fixed routine for the opening of a superhero movie. However, this is such an unsightly, a little shy, and somewhat weak Peter Parker, but he can attract the attention of many people. Counterattack flow. If in 2020, you see such an opening, you will definitely say it's cliché, but, in 2000, there was a market for counterattacks. It's a futility. The male protagonist is a bully at first sight, yes, but I'm a little looking forward to Peter Parker. He will become Spider-Man sooner. Counterattack the flow. What you see is this taste really. Before long, Peter Parker was bitten by a mysterious spider. Super agility, super vision, super strength, super resilience, spider induction, in just one night. Peter Parker went from a weak high school student to a superboy. Inside the school cafeteria, Peter Parker is up. In front of his crush Mary Jane, he gave a little show, and used his extremely vigorous hand to catch all the dishes, Coke, burgers and other foods that were inadvertently thrown into the sky. Wow Parker, how did you do it? So awesome. Parker, all the students in the school cafeteria were all amazed. Not only that, Parker also successfully hugged the heroine Mary Jane, who almost fell. This scene is undoubtedly a classic scene in the Spider-Man movie, and many people can still remember it after more than 10 years. In fact, there is one thing that many moviegoers don't know. The actor Tobey Maguire, who plays the actor Peter Parker, received the dinner plate in the air during the filming of this scene. It was not done with special effects, but a real shot. However, in order to film this scene, the actor Tobey Maguire took nearly 2 hours to shoot before passing the test smoothly. Hi, Parker, thank you. Mary Jane looked at her good neighbor hugging herself with some surprise. At this time, Parker was reluctant to put Mary Jane down from his arms. Asshole, what did you do to my girlfriend? Mary Jane's boyfriend, who also often bullies Parker's campus bully, appeared. He immediately became angry when he watched his girlfriend being held by others. Then, he was killed. The appearance of this scene naturally makes the audience watching the movie feel very happy. Counterattack flow, waste material flow. Isn't that what I'm looking at? Parker, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The movie continues. The actor's uncle, Ben Parker, said this impressive sentence to the actor before he died. At this moment, the small spider, whose purpose is to fight crime, was officially launched. Can I look at your face? In the dim, damp street at night, it was dark and raining, and several malicious men stared at Mary Jane in the face of several brawny men. Mary Jane is naturally helpless in critical moments. Spider-Man makes his debut. A set of tricks can easily solve the 4 men. When Mary Jane catches up, Parker disappears quickly because she doesn't take the hood, but as soon as Mary Jane turned around without seeing Spider-Man, Spider-Man hung upside down from her side. Love deep, passionate kiss. There is this classic upside down kiss. Wow, there is a set. This lens is excellent. Every classic film will have impressive shots. No doubt, this upside down kiss left a deep impression on me. I think I will always remember it. The movie audiences around couldn't help but talk in a low voice in the same way. Zhu Ke nodded very pleasedly. Don't say it's the movie audience at the scene, it's me, a traverser, who still clearly remembers this upside down kiss. Zhu Ke thought to himself. The invited guest, Rupert Murdoch, couldn't help but whisper to Zhu, "You shot Spider-Man very well. This scene alone is enough to impress me." Time passed slowly. The movie screening is over. Spider-Man has undoubtedly become the favorite of many moviegoers and fans tonight, and they can't help but want to watch it again. Spider-Man, actor Peter Parker played by Tobey Maguire, actress of the heroine Mary Jane, Kirsten Dunst, the actor of The Little Green Devils, James Franco. They became the brightest star tonight, especially Tobey Maguire. As soon as the film ended, the countless audiences and reporters on the scene couldn't suppress their inner restlessness and wanted to interview Tobey Maguire in the first place. At this moment, Tobey Maguire's popularity completely surpassed everyone before the film's premiere. Even Zucker's popularity at this moment can't be compared. "Thank you for coming. I will answer one by one." Tobey Maguire is very excited now. Before shooting Spider-Man, he was already a small well-known actor, and he had acted as the leading actor many times, but he had never received such a warm and enthusiastic welcome. "It's worth it. Everything is worth it." According to the requirements of the crew, Tobey received several months of physical training in order to create a skilled Spider-Man before the filming started. Training programs included yoga, trampoline, weightlifting, running and cycling. "I'm going red." Tobey Maguire resisted the excitement and joy in his heart. Many viewers who were lucky enough to watch Spider-Man in advance, even after leaving the venue, still felt very excited. Spider-Man, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Waiting for words, an endless stream of words popped out of their mouths. "Man, do you ask me if Spider-Man looks good? With a full score of 10, I will give it 100 points, the blonde girl excitedly said. "Of course I am very excited now. I can't wait for it to be released in the United States immediately, and then I will buy a ticket to enter the venue and watch it 3 or 5 times. A boy wearing a baseball cap yelled. "I can only say that he is very wonderful, said a college student, "even though it is slightly different from the comics, but it has already shown me a good childhood. Bit Parker in my memory." A man in his 30s exclaimed. Even the audience at the scene was chanted, "Spider-Man." The scenes of this scene make people in the same industry in Hollywood feel a little bit irritable. "Boss, are they crazy?" An executive from 20th Century Fox gritted his teeth hearing this. Murdoch shook his head and said solemnly, "We don't have such a good movie audience for the premiere of X-Men. That guy's Zhu Ke Wald www.wuxiaspit.com." He succeeded again. Murdoch was a little bit sour. However, the representatives of Zinxon, Columbia, Touchstone, Emperor Gate, Lionsgate, Universal and other film companies, who are here today, are even more unhappy in their hearts. There used to be Blade Warrior and X-Men, now there's Spider-Man. The era of superhero movies is really coming. Many people sighed, so they decided to do the same thing, collect film and television copyrights adapted from comics. The executives in Hollywood don't say anything else. Their ability to control the market is definitely the best in the world. 500 million box office, Warner Pictures CEO Barry Meyer exclaimed. "Maybe its box office can exceed $600 million or more." The first update is sent. Chapter 409, break 100 million in 3 days. August 4th, according to the experience of previous years, the trend of watching blockbuster movies during the summer vacation in August can be said to have gradually passed. However, this year is completely different. A Spider-Man ignited countless movie audiences' desire to buy tickets and watch movies. Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Seattle, Salt Lake City, Washington. The theater market in the United States today has as many as 3,600 theaters that will show Spider-Man. 600 theaters opened. The number of paintings alone is enough to slay all the monsters and demons. 20th Century Fox, as one of the 6 major Hollywood, is it powerful enough? However, when X-Men was released not long ago, there were only more than 2,800 drawings. What does this mean? In an interview with the media, the head of Zimank Cinemas, one of the 3 major theaters in the United States, said, "Of course we are optimistic about the potential of Spider-Man. Of course, some people will say that Zimank is Spider-Man. It's one of the investors in the country, so it arranges such a large number of paintings, but, let me tell you, you are wrong. From the day I saw Spider-Man become a film, I have been full of confidence in its market potential. Not only we Zimank, but also many theaters such as Emperor Entertainment, AMC, White, etc., are full of confidence in Spider-Man. The number of openings in 3,600 cinemas, it dare not say that it is the first in film history. but it is definitely enough to rank in the top 10. The theater's information on Spider-Man is no less than that of the production company Wald Pictures, and even surpasses it. Journalists and the media are also ready to move today, keeping an eye on Spider-Man's box office. Movie viewers and comics fans are also the first time to buy tickets and watch movies. Wald Pictures' Zhu Ke personally sits in the company, and the president, Bill, is on the front line of command. All moving. Today's publicity efforts are increasing and increasing. For me, you asked me about the promotional funds. Mr. Wald is here in person. What do you think? Spend money hard. I want to make the Spider-Man news overwhelming today. The old Bill is not old. Even though he's a little tired these days, his high spirits still infect countless employees. Spider-Man, with a production cost of $150 million and a publicity cost of $60 million, it can be said to be the movie with the most investment and the greatest hope since the establishment of Wald Pictures. No one can be careless. Zhu Ke's attitude is evident when he visits the town in person. In the original time and space, Spider-Man 1 was released in the summer of 2002. At that time, less than a year after 9/11, the United States was immersed in grief. The emergence of the Spider-Man superhero has given many people hope as one of the keys to the box office explosion. However, what about now? 9/11 was in 2000, but it didn't happen. Although Zhu Ke is full of confidence in Spider-Man, he is still a little worried. At the same time, it is full of expectations. Boss, once Spider-Man has achieved great success, then Wald Pictures is bound to rise completely. Kevin Fitch was excited. What is the standard configuration of a large film company? Among them is an important key, and that is to be able to successfully produce Class A first-line commercial productions with a cost of hundreds of millions of dollars. Prior to this, Wald Pictures launched a number of excellent films, and scored many movies with a box office of over 100 million. Even Waterworld Animation's Finding Nemo has swept more than $900 million in box office in the global market. But what about the big production? The Spider-Man movie is Wald Pictures' first film with an investment of over 100 million and over $200 million. Its importance is related to the fate of Wald Pictures. Zhu Ke is paying attention to Spider-Man, and many film companies are also paying attention to Spider-Man. How much can it get at the box office for 3 days in the first weekend? $50 million, $60 million, $62 million. It will never exceed $64 million. Right, you know, as of August 2000, the 3-day box office record for the first weekend in North America was Star Wars Episode 1. In 1999, Star Wars Prequel 1, produced by George Lucas, the North American market in the first weekend of the 3-day box office, in one fell swoop harvested $64.38 million, is the current record holder. At the same time, movies with a box office of more than $50 million in the first 3 days of the week are one of the few in Hollywood. With no more than 30 movies, there were only 4 movies with a box office of more than $60 million in the first weekend. Spider-Man's box office in the first 3 days of the weekend, how much can it get? California Entertainment News, the two media newspapers, the California Entertainment and the Los Angeles Entertainment, which are the dogs of Wald Pictures, naturally sang Spider-Man in their articles. Their shameless and dog-licking spirit has successfully attracted the attention of many citizens, and many people have the idea of buying tickets and watching movies. The day of August 4th passed quickly. Spider-Man earned $33 million at the box office on its first day, exploded. In just one day, countless film companies were terrified. Zhu Ke, the owner of New Line Films, on this first day's box office, it is enough to rank in the pre-20 film history. On August 5th, Spider-Man reported $39 million. The box office on this day was undoubtedly more than $6 million higher than the first day it exploded again. Today, one of the companies in the Hollywood industry has been bombed out in just 2 days. The box office of Spider-Man has exceeded $72 million, breaking the previous 3-day North American box office record of $64.38 million set by Star Wars Prequel 1 in the first weekend in North America. My God. Did you make a mistake? This is only 2 days. In 2 days, the cumulative box office has exceeded $72 million. If 1 day is added, its box office cannot exceed 100 million. Many film companies were stunned. Can you not be shocked? The box office record of $64.38 million in the first weekend in North America set by Star Wars 1 has shocked countless film companies. Some senior people once said, before 2010, The box office in North America exceeded 100 million in the first weekend in 3 days. It is impossible to achieve, but now, they got slapped. The box office of Spider-Man was only 2 days, and it exceeded $72 million, which scared many people. Movie fans are also shocked. The box office exceeded 100 million in 3 days. Spider-Man, as expected, when Monday came, the box office results for the first weekend of Spider-Man were released, $109 million. The original space-time www.Spider-Man Spider-Man 1 was released in 2002, and the box office exceeded $115 million in the first 3 days of the first weekend, breaking the 9,700 set by Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone released in 2001. A box office record of $10,000, it's $6 million lower than the original version, but so what? This is not the cause of Spider-Man itself, but the result of various factors such as 9/11 and the market environment. At the box office of $109 million in 3 days in the first weekend, the undisputed #1 in film history, Zhu Ke clenched his fist tightly, his heart full of pride on this day. Many film companies, media reporters and movie fans are crazy too. The second update is sent. This chapter is late, but fortunately it will be released before 9 o'clock, so that everyone will not wait long. Finally, I would like to say that the author sometimes writes typos. Thank you for your reminders. Thanks. Chapter 410, News Bomb. The United States. The Spider-Man movie has a box office of $109 million in 3 days in the first weekend, breaking a record in movie history. The major entertainment media newspapers and magazines across the United States have made headlines with this as the headline. Even media newspapers other than entertainment media are chasing this hotspot frantically. Spider-Man has reached the top honors. Wald Pictures has made another great achievement. Its first film with a cost of over 100 million yuan won the best box office record in the first weekend of 3 days. The debut of Spider-Man is the pinnacle. Such titles can be said to be everywhere. If praise is described as a percentage, today alone, you can get at least more than 90% of praise. California Entertainment published an article, "The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." This seemingly simple heroism does not cover up the light of Spider-Man itself. It takes the ordinary Peter Parker as the cut-in, affection, love. The conclusion of the friendship that complements each other makes the movie not only emotionally full, but also inspires resonance with the audience. On the other hand, in terms of special effects, as the first movie in the Spider-Man series, the free shuttle between high-rise buildings is even more amazing. The original scenes that only existed in comics have become within reach. Here, the proposition of the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, has such a sincere and true interpretation. Also, as one of Wald Pictures' doglegs, the Los Angeles Entertainment News also followed suit. Los Angeles Entertainment News published an article, "Little Spider is not like Batman's bitter and deep hatred, nor is it different from Superman's birth, and it's not the infighting of X-Men. Little Spider is different from the previous heroic design, a civilian hero." Good neighbors seem to be more touching. Among them, the scene of Spider-Man kissing the heroine upside down is believed to be the dream of many female audiences. The articles of these two loyal dogs are extremely flattering, which makes many colleagues embarrassed, but, so what? Many people like the flattering tunes of Los Angeles Entertainment News and California Entertainment News. On this day, the newspapers of the two media newspapers are on sale. They all say that we have lost the face of the media, and shamelessly pursued Wald Pictures, but, who cares? As long as we can make money, let me sing the praises of terrorists, it is okay. Robert, the owner of the Los Angeles Entertainment News, despises the envy and hatred of his colleagues. California Entertainment shareholders also agree the media needs notarization, but, the media guys have to eat. As expected, other media and newspaper colleagues, although jealous and contemptuous of the flattery tone of the two newspapers, Los Angeles Entertainment and California Entertainment, the degree of flattery in their newspapers and today's reports is no less than that of the bullshits. It's the same sentence. I want to eat. The media's ethics. Haha. It is just that there is no ethics. Especially the entertainment media. The content reported by the entertainment media will only report what the audience is willing to see. The so-called authenticity of the reported content will only report the facts that the people are willing to believe. Movie audiences were shocked by the news today, and many people said they couldn't believe it. Of course I am surprised. A high school student was on the street, facing an interview with a TV station, and immediately said, "When I heard the news this morning, I almost dropped my jaw. Oh my God." The box office in the first 3 days of the first weekend exceeded $109 million. Are you sure this is not April Fool's Day? Don't look at me under the age of 18, but I also read countless movies. I have seen countless good movies, strong movies, and bad movies, but Spider-Man is really good looking, especially Peter Parker hanging upside down in the city. The lens in the center is really cool. This high school student didn't show any timidity at all. On the contrary, he was very excited. Facing the interview camera, he was completely chattering. The reporter was also sweating coldly. He wanted to leave, but the high school student kept talking about Spider-Man somewhere in New York. It is also a street interview outside a theater. A man in his 30s solemnly said, "I am waiting for the arrival of Spider-Man 2. After watching the first part, don't you want to see the second part immediately? Although I know it's impossible now, still very impatient. Spider-Man comics were my favorite comics in my youth and my favorite superheroes. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, how do you say? Well, he is not handsome, a little shy, and still looks very weak, but I just think this is Spider-Man. Cock. Everyone loves silk. Movies are a dream art. When audiences watch movies, they naturally have dreams, hoping to find happiness and resonance in movies. Obviously, Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man, perfectly fulfilling the dreams of most viewers. Who doesn't love Spider-Man who is flying over the wall? Thanks to the influence of Spider-Man at the box office in the first 3 days of the first weekend, even if it is Monday, it is a working day, many people still walk into the cinema to buy tickets and watch movies. Utah. The capital Salt Lake City chain stores around Old Billy Movies as one of Zuke's old friends. Old Billy, who owns 7 stores in Utah, is very busy at the moment, with sweat on his forehead, but his face is full of smiles. He made a lot of money, boss. The sales around Spider-Man have come out. Our 7 stores have sold a total of $2.15 million in 3 days. After all costs and expenses are removed, we made at least $500,000. The fat financial manager excitedly said. Old Billy laughed loudly. I knew it. Zhu Ke is a sincere man. He will never cheat my old friend. Old Billy was one of Zuke's first film dealers when Zuke started his family. The Old Billy helped Zuke a lot. Even Zuke's first contact with Amazon's bald head was also the result of his Old Billy matchmaking, receiving the grace of the dripping water. When the spring comes to repay, even if Zuke's bottom line is very low, but there is a reason to be reciprocated, Zuke still implements it. For example, Spider-Man's peripheral product sales and peripheral authorization. In Utah, Zuke has never faked his hands. As long as the Old Billy nods his head, then the authorization is his. Well, no matter how much money someone else pays, Zuke also never give color among the local movie retailers in Utah. One counts as one, and all of them are full of envy for Old Billy. Boss, in Utah alone, we have made so much. It is estimated that the Spider-Man peripheral products all over the United States are selling crazy. Fat Finance laughed. Yes it is. Old Billy smiled and nodded. I just called Walt Disney in New York State and Monterey in Kentucky, and they are also making a lot of money. You do not say. In the 50 states of the United States, as long as the distributors and retailers that have signed agreements before the release of Spider-Man, they all make a lot of money. Of course, Zhu Ke made a lot of money before the release of Spider-Man. Walt Pictures made a full $60 million in peripheral licensing fees in the United States. Is it too much? It sounds a lot. www.wooksyaspit.com, but you have to know this price code, which is not even the top 100 in the previous Hollywood authorized lists. No way. Who made Spider-Man not well known before it was released, but classmate Zhu Ke is enough for chicken thieves. With the exception of the United States, around the Spider-Man in overseas countries and regions, Zhu Ke was stunned, waiting for the follow-up movie to be sold again after the big explosion. Other film companies will certainly not do this. After all, they are not a traverser. Who can guarantee that Spider-Man will be a big hit? No, the harvest time has arrived. Spider-Man's box office exceeded $109 million in 3 days in the first weekend. This news could not help but boil over the entire United States, and also swept all over the world. As a result, surrounding retailers and distributors in Europe, Asia, Australia, South America and other places waved. Check, arrived at Wald Pictures as soon as possible. The threshold was almost stepped on. The first update is sent. Chapter 411. 200 million in the account. Wald Pictures. The conference room on the 3rd floor of the company, no, to be precise, is the 3rd floor of Wald Pictures, crowded with people. They are all movie dealers from all over the world. Damn, there are too many people. A middle-aged lady complained. Hearing this, an old man not far from the middle-aged lady couldn't help but smile and said, You just came today, right? Huh? How did you know? The middle-aged lady was puzzled. The old man smiled immediately. If you had been here yesterday, you would know that there were more people yesterday than now, real or fake. The middle-aged lady raised her eyebrows and said in astonishment, now there are more than 40 people on the third floor, but they are all dealers in the surrounding industries. There were more people than this yesterday. The old man nodded heavily. Not only that, many people around the crowd who heard this conversation nodded their heads. The Spider-Man movie is so hot. Spain, Italy, Portugal, Brazil, Chile, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Morocco, United Kingdom, Thailand. Distributors in the surrounding industries from countries and regions around the world have complained all the time, thanks to Wald Pictures' adequate preparation and good service attitude, otherwise, they will be fried. Who is the contact person in the meeting room now? The middle-aged lady asked again. She is in a hurry, although she has just arrived. She also knows that the people who are negotiating the contract in the conference room at this moment have delayed everyone for half an hour. Who is in our industry? The shelf is so big, let us wait for so long. The middle-aged lady was a little emotional. In fact, not only the middle-aged lady is emotional, many are also a little unhappy. Everyone is a distributor of peripheral industries from all over the world, so why let us wait? Wait, Lyman Schweitz, the old man responded again. What? In an instant, the middle-aged lady's pupils shrank. It turned out to be him. The crowd around him couldn't help but feel an uproar in their hearts. Lyman Schweitz, a big-time figure in Europe, is one of the largest distributors of European movies. At the same time, the industries under his name also involve coal, steel, finance, petroleum and other energy and minerals. Is an energy tycoon and a guest of European governments for such a giant? There is one of the neighboring dealers waiting on the spot. Who dares to compare with Lyman Schweitz? For a while, everyone fell silent after the uproar. A long time. Old man, who are you? Well informed. The middle-aged lady couldn't help asking. The crowd around them also focused their attention on the little old man, wanting to know who this somewhat rickety little old man is. Little old man, puff. Just when the rickety little old man was about to speak, there was a burst of laughter not far away. He's embarrassed to say, I will help him. He's from the UK, and the locals call him Baron Tobit. He is mainly engaged in local film distribution and book publishing in the UK. Well, coupled with a local TV station in the UK, there is a good cooperation relationship, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The person who came out to speak was also a man in his 30s and dressed appropriately. Baron Tobit, I know him. I heard that he is the first person to cooperate with Wald Pictures in the UK, and he has a certain reputation in the retail industry around us, a Frenchman said. But you don't know one thing. The man continued to speak, and looked at Baron Tobit's gaze, full of joking. What's the matter? The Frenchman superb role did a good job. The man sneered. Although Zhu is cunning, he's extremely honest and is a person worth dealing with. As the first person to cooperate with Wald Pictures in the UK, Baron Tobit shared a sweet cake. Yes. Said that he made a lot of money for Wald Pictures on the list, but human nature is greedy, and desire has no bottom line. They desperately want to take everything into their arms. Since 1998, this respected Baron Tobit has gathered a group of partners from Wald Pictures, and has worked in films such as My Great Greek Wedding, 300 Spartan, Blair the Witch and other films. In China, the profit-making have severely grabbed the interests that should belong to Wald Pictures. The results of it, Zhu naturally kicked our Baron Tobit out of the game without hesitation. When the voice fell, there was an uproar at the scene. Baron Tobit, many people are extremely contemptuous of Baron Tobit's behavior. I can't see it. I am old, and my heart is bad enough. The middle-aged woman couldn't help laughing. Okay, a dealer from France nodded and looked at the old baron's gaze, full of contempt, and said, if you say you did it, then you did it, but you were discovered, which is stupid enough of. In fact, in business cooperation, there is no count of sloppy behaviors. Even the people who denounced Baron Tobit on the scene did not do these things less, but in their words, if you are found, you will fail. Enough. Things have not been revealed. You are still a respected baron. Revealed. Haha. You are shameless, despicable loser. Huh? Who are you? Someone suddenly asked. For a while, the eyes of many people at the scene were on the man who exposed the past of Baron Tobit. Me. My name is Cindy and I work for the British ITV TV station, the man said with a smile. Yes, he is Cindy, one of Zhu's few friends. A few days later in Zhu's Burbank villa. Cindy, you are welcome. It took a few days to meet with you. I'm sorry, buddy. Zhu Ke apologized first. Cindy has arrived, but it has been a few days. It's okay, knowing you are busy. I'm not in a hurry. Cindy waved his hand, very generous. Hearing this, Zhu Ke was really relieved, and the wronged friend delayed a few more days, and Zhu Ke still felt a little uncomfortable. Cindy drank a glass of red wine and smiled again. You have been busy these days. You have not made less money, right? Haha. Speaking of this, Zhu Ke couldn't help showing a proud smile. It's not that I'm telling you, you are really right. The peripheral authorization of overseas countries and regions, we have accounted for $145 million in the past few days. The voice failed. Cindy was shocked and said, so? Plus the $60 million in peripheral licenses in the United States, you made $200 million. Zhu Ke nodded heavily, unable to conceal the smile on his face. No way, so much money. Cindy was overwhelmed with excitement and shocked. Follow-up TV platform broadcasts, offline DVD and videotape markets, plus the licensing of games, books, etc. And the most important thing is that there are movie financial derivatives. It makes you earn a lot of money. I don't know. I was taken aback. A Spider-Man movie can at least make Wald Pictures record up to $400 million in profits. In fact, Zhu Ke wanted to say more than just www.wuxiaspit.com. In the original time and space, Sony Columbus relied on the Spider-Man movie. In the second half of 2002, it made $500 million. Sony Columbus is a listed company, and the increase in its market value is an additional $500 million or more. Even Zhu can't decide. Spider-Man is really money. The profitability of Spider-Man is more profitable than Marvel's later Avengers, but much more. After chatting, Zhu and Cindy were on business. Well, it was also the purpose of Cindy's trip to Los Angeles from the UK. Everything has to do with a man. This man's name is Bear Grylls. Well, a man named top of the food chain. The second update is sent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, The Man at the Top of the Food Chain. London, England. A residential building in the Corina community. This is not a rich area, but an ordinary middle-class community. Sarah, don't worry, I will let you live a good life. This is my promise. At home, the 26-year-old Bear Grylls made an affectionate promise to his new wife. I believe in you. Sarah believed her husband very much. However, the young Bear's firm eyes flashed a looming sense of melancholy. Family. He had just gotten married not long ago, and he already felt the pressure from his family deeply. But what I like the most is not a plain life, but an exciting career of adventure, challenging myself time and time again. Bear thought about it. From 1994 to 1997, he served in the 21st British Airborne Special Service Regiment and was selected by the British Special Forces to become a pioneer. He is good at hand-to-hand combat, desert and cold combat, and he has many advantages that ordinary people can hardly match with survival skills, medical treatment, parachuting, signaling, evasive driving, climbing and explosions. In 1997, injured and retired. In 1998, when he was only 24 years old, he successfully climbed Mount Everest and reached the top, becoming the youngest man in the world to reach the top of Mount Everest. In 2006, he cooperated with the American Discovery Channel to film the Survival in the Wild program. Carrying thin equipment, Bear went deep into the most inaccessible areas in the world. Show people how to survive. Places visited include Costa Rica jungle, Utah desert, Pacific Islands, Sierra Nevada, Alps. All the bugs, all plants, snakes, insects, rats and ants, etc., are his prey. Crack and crisp, chicken flavor. Its fat energy is 3-6 times that of beef. Long as they can see something, even if it is a carrier of the deadly toxin, animals can only become his food, especially when he was bitten by insects. Burst mouth, broke a green slurry, so many people terrified of, and therefore many people call it Pei, the man at the top of the food chain. In a word, he is a man who is not willing to be constrained by ordinary life. He likes adventures and challenges, but he sometimes has to face the cruel reality. It takes money to survive. Life has never been smooth sailing. Pushkin, Russian. So far, Bear has not had a permanent job. The livelihood that can make a living is to publish and sell one's own adventures, such as the experience of climbing Mount Everest. Boom boom boom, Mr. Bell growls, "I'm the landlord, Mrs. Bellin." The voice coming from outside the house immediately made the Bell and Sarah couple inside the house feel tight. "Bell, we are in arrears of 2 months' rent." She must have come to ask for money. Sarah worried. "Don't worry, everything has me." Bell comforted. Real men dare to face all suffering, but sometimes you have to learn to bow to reality. Contradictory, however, this is reality. After Mrs. Varon came in, she sighed and said, "Bell, Sarah, I know you don't have a lot of money, and you just got married, but you also need to know that my family will have to eat, and you haven't paid the rent for these 2 months. Have I urged it? I have no choice but to come today." It can be said that the attitude of the landlord's wife is really good if you encounter a landlord with a bad attitude and a very bad personality, let alone arrears of 2 months' rent. Even if you delay for a few days, they will chatter, or even blast you away very rudely, and your things will be too. Was thrown out in a brainstorm. Mrs. Varon, you know, my book will be finished soon. As long as it is published, I can make money. Then, well, Sarah and I will move out as soon as possible. Please give us 3 days, and at the same time, the money owed to you, I will definitely pay it back soon. Bell gritted his teeth. "A penny stumps a hero." Hey, upon hearing this, Mrs. Varon sighed. "I don't want to urge you, but this is the reality. I know that you are not rich for the time being. You don't have to rush to pay back the rent. Well, as long as you remember to pay it back, thank you." "Thank you very much." Bell has nothing but thanks at the moment. Mrs. Varon's house can't be rented to him. He can't resent. After all, others also need to survive. The next day, Bell's wife Sarah left home early and went to the nearest housing center to find new and cheap housing as soon as possible. They really don't have much money. At the same time, although the Bells have no money, they do not want to continue to owe Mrs. Varon's rent. Therefore, while his wife Sarah is looking for a new house today, she also shoulders a mission, which is to sell her necklaces that she has just married. Dropping the words of his wife Sarah, Mrs. Varon takes care of us very much. She continues to spend money. We can continue to owe her 2 months' rent even if we move out of her house. Bell was very pleased with Sarah's generosity, but at the same time he resented herself quite a bit. A man who can't support his family, is he still a man? Adventure, shit, I like adventures, challenges, traversing deserts with scorching sun, hiking on glaciers that are inaccessible for millions of years, enjoying skydiving, and crossing the ocean in kayaks. But what's the point of all this? It can't let me support my family. Obviously, the burden of life and the pressure of family make Bell, who likes to take risks, jumps, and restless in his bones, has the idea of quieting down completely. Ding ding ding. At this moment, the phone in the room rang. Mozabak, he is an editor at the University of London Press. "Bell, I have to tell you a piece of news. The book Face, written by your experience on the summit of Mount Everest, was rejected by the editor-in-chief." Editor Mozabak said solemnly. "Boom, this news is undoubtedly a bolt from the blue and worse for Bell, who has fallen into a trough in his life." Mr. Bach, can you tell me where the editor-in-chief White is dissatisfied with Face? You tell me, I will revise it immediately, Bell said anxiously. He could not give up this opportunity. Calm silence. After a long time, the editor Mozabak said, "Bell, to be honest, I like the book Face very much, and I like the adventures you describe in the book, especially your spirit of not being discouraged." The blood boiled over again and again, but, you know, the editor-in-chief White is not optimistic about it. After speaking, editor Mozabak immediately hung up the phone regardless of Bell's attitude. 5 times, this is the 5th time that Bell has rejected it. The book Face, or the autobiography of his ascent to the summit of Mount Everest, was completed as early as March 2000. It has been submitted to major publishing houses 5 times, and the number of times the content has been revised is as many as 2. More than 10 times effortless. Soon after, Zhu Ke arrived in London from the United States. The first update is sent. Chapter 413, I Want to Cross the Atlantic. At noon, the slightly haggard wife Sarah returned home. Bell saw it and immediately poured her a glass of water. "Count the property, Bell. I just handed over the 2 months' rent in arrears to the landlord, Mrs. Bellin. She said, as long as we promise to pay the subsequent rent, this house can continue to be rented to us." His wife Sarah changed the conversation and smiled bitterly, "But, I still rejected her. After all, according to our current financial situation, we can't afford to rent a house like this anymore." Weak Bell gritted his teeth. "I listened to you." In his heart, Bell wanted to say continue to rent here more than once, but he couldn't say it. They were almost out of money. Men have to learn to bow their heads. Those who can't kill us will make us strong in the end. Oh, by the way, did the University of London Press agree to let Face be published? Sarah asked suddenly. No, Bell gritted his teeth. It's okay. I believe you can. Face will definitely be published. Sarah comforted Bell. It will be published. Really? In 2001, Belden's adventure on the summit of Mount Everest, Face, was successfully published. However, how many people can understand the degree of hardship? Bell and Sarah kept doing odd jobs, and after nearly 20 publishers' rejections, the book Face was published. Okay, let's not talk about it yet. I'm going to cook, and you can rest for a while. Well, or you can watch TV. Sarah kissed Bell and hurried into the kitchen. Bell modified the books himself and was very tired, so he turned on the TV. The incoming scene is a new news program on ITV TV station. Dear viewers in front of the TV, now we are broadcasting a newsletter for you. Mr. Zhu Ke Wald, a well-known American rich man, entrepreneur, and philanthropist, took his personal private jet and arrived in London at 9 a.m. this morning. Mr. Miller, chairman of ITV Broadcasting Company, personally picked up the plane. Soon afterwards, Mr. Zhu Ke Wald and Mr. Miller signed a series of new phases of cooperation agreements in the ITV Broadcasting building. ITV Broadcasting Company is one of the largest television media groups in the UK. Golden Dawn Entertainment Group has also risen rapidly in recent years and has become a media force that cannot be ignored in the United States. This time the cooperation between the two media companies will definitely deepen the cooperative relationship to provide viewers in the United States, the United Kingdom, and the whole world with better looking and better quality film and television programs. Zhu Ke, who appeared on the TV screen, is so young and so confident. All in all makes Bell, who is lonely at this moment, envious. Dude, Bell is 26 years old this year. What about Zucker? Zhu Ke, who is only 23 years old this year, is already a well-known super rich in the United States and the world. He has more industries and wealth than countless people. Hey, what do I want to do? It's hard for me to even raise a family now. The billionaire is too far away from me. Bell laughed at himself at this moment. Someone knocked on the door of Bell and Sarah's house. Hello, is this Mr. Bell Griles's house? A man's voice came from outside the door. Who? Bell was a little strange about who it was, but he got up and opened the door. The door is open. Bell's eyes were two men and one woman, dressed in decent suits and overalls, which made people know that they were the high-ranking elites in society. You are? Bell wondered. The headed man laughed and said, let me introduce myself. My name is Alexander Povich Sanily Sergey. Of course, you can also call me Alexander. I am from the United States and serve as the president of Golden Dawn Entertainment Group. Director, the position of chief assistant to the chairman. That's right, the visitor is surprisingly a close friend of Zhu Ke. Alexander, Golden Dawn Entertainment Group. Hearing this, Bell was instantly excited, and he blurted out, so it was you. I saw your news on the TV just now, and I also saw you appear in the news. Alexander nodded and smiled immediately. Everyone entered the house. The men and women who came with Alexander were all from Golden Dawn Entertainment. V.A. Rondo, 42 years old, is the vice president of Golden Dawn Entertainment, UK, branch. Catherine Tracy, 37 years old, is the deputy editor-in-chief of Jinxuguang Publishing, UK, branch. Undoubtedly, both of them are Zhu Ke's men, and they have held senior management positions in the UK branch. God, you invited me to the show? And, is it a TV adventure show headed by me? Bell was so excited that it was beyond words, and even felt ridiculous, somewhat unreal and dreamy. And his wife Sarah has no plans to cook lunch now. It's you, Mr. Bell Griles. You don't have to doubt this, Alexander solemnly said. As far as I know, since the second half of 1999, you have the idea of crossing the Atlantic Ocean alone, but due to the pressure of reality and other reasons, you still dare not try. Then, I ask you, would you like to try? What to try? Cross the Atlantic solo. Moreover, there is only one kayak, without assistance, with only a small amount of food and water, and it takes at least 3 to 4 months to traverse the North Atlantic for more than 10,000 miles. This is definitely a huge challenge. So far, no one has ever been able to complete a challenge. No. This is too dangerous. My goodness. Before Bell could speak, his wife Sarah shook her head and refused. However, Bell is feeling blood-boiled at this moment. He has a gene of restlessness in his bones. Since he was a child, when his father came in and took him on the mountain, he yearned for such a challenge in life, traveling through deserted deserts, a glacier that has been banned for millions of years, Go deep into the primeval forest densely covered with tigers, leopards, jackals, snakes, insects, rats and ants. A person, a pot of water, and a knife challenged nature, challenge again and again. Isn't this kind of life what Belle is yearning for? Served as crossing the North Atlantic, completely igniting the blood of Belle's uneasiness. I can do it, I have confidence. Despite the opposition of his wife Sarah, Belle desperately wants to achieve this challenge. It is Belle's dream to challenge the ocean and conquer the ocean at the same time. This challenge will also give Belle a huge amount of money rewards. If completed, the rewards will be more, which can make their family live a better life. £1 million. After completing the transatlantic challenge and arriving in the United States from the UK, he will receive £1 million from Golden Dawn Entertainment and ITV Broadcasting. Jinshuguang Entertainment Company and ITV Broadcasting Company will jointly complete the shooting of this challenge. The accompanying filming staff will not give Belle any help, of course, unless Belle gives up this challenge. The distance of more than 10,000 miles between the sea. The disasters such as wind, rain, thunder and lightning, and the huge psychological pressure floating on the sea for a long time can be described as ubiquitous. All of this is a huge physical and spiritual challenge to a person. Mr. Belle Griles, you don't need to rush to answer us, Alexander said sympathetically. You can discuss with your wife again. Besides, relevant legal agreements and contracts also need time to note. That night www.wuxiaspitcom in a hotel suite in London, Alexander gave a brief report to Zucker about Belle. I see, I can rest assured when you do things. Zhuke pondered for a while and said, I will leave this to you. Alexander nodded. He understood Zhuke's importance to this matter. Zhuke's visit to London this time, although the main purpose is to deepen cooperation with ITV Broadcasting Company, Zhuke definitely paid attention to the Belle issue. Winning Belle is equivalent to winning the future Survival in the Wild program, Survival in the Wilderness program. It is a program that is loved by audiences all over the world. And the ratings are extremely amazing. At the same time, Zhuke needs a heavy hammer if he wants to open up the TV market in overseas countries and regions, and Survival in the Wilderness is a big move. The second update is sent. Chapter 414, Signed Contract, Press Conference. A few days later, Belle Griles, a well-known explorer of the future, officially signed a contract for Single Across the Atlantic with Golden Dawn Entertainment Group and ITV Broadcasting Company. Cause and effect at the signing ceremony. Dozens of media reporters who arrived were also quite shocked. Cross the Atlantic solo, real or fake? God, this is impossible. It's hard to say that alone. Kayaking, carrying only a small amount of food and water, but sailing more than 10,000 miles of the Atlantic Ocean, storms and other harsh weather conditions along the way, are enough to make any warrior collapse. The most important thing is that this guy named Belle will be sailing at sea for more than 3 months. My God. This is simply challenging the limits of mankind. Not only that, although Belle Griles used to be an excellent special force, he is not lacking in courage, but to cross the Atlantic, he absolutely needs a huge reserve of knowledge in climatology, oceanography, physiology, and medicine. Otherwise, he is just looking for death. Dozens of media reporters at the scene could not hide their shock. Crossing the Atlantic Ocean alone is definitely an extremely difficult, even impossible challenge. What? Quiet. Who do you see coming? At this moment, someone among the reporters suddenly shouted, It's Zucker. It's Mr. Zhu Ke Wald. That's right. Zhuke came to the signing site in person. Not only that, but there are also 2 heavyweights in the UK who came with Zhu. Greg Clark. He is the chief executive officer of the FA. He has a great reputation in the local football circle in the United Kingdom, but also in the European football field. In 2016, he will also be promoted to the top of the FA. You ask why I came? Greg Clark laughed. As everyone knows, football is a team sport. It is based on collective victories. However, there is never a shortage of heroes who are single-handedly, alone, and turn the tide. Mr. Belle Griles, he will cross the Atlantic solo and challenge an almost impossible project, which shocked us deeply. Therefore, I am here this time to tell Belle on behalf of the FA and for the 217 professional football teams in the UK, God is with you. The voice fell, and the warm applause suddenly remembered on the spot. Many people can't help nodding frequently. However, it's all in fact. If Zucker was not the owner of the Manchester City Club, if the Manchester City Club had not successfully returned to the Premier League with the first place in the Premier League in the past 99-00 season, Greg Clark would not come to the platform at all. Endorsement. Note, the English Champions League was only established in 2004. And the English Premier League was still a second-tier league in 2000. Speaking of this investment by the Manchester City Club, there is no doubt that Zhu Ke has made another profit in 1998. Zhu Ke successfully took over the Manchester City Club, which was in the second league at the time, for a price of £52 million, in the 1998-1999 season. With the full support of Zhu Ke and the coaching of the future famous Mourinho, the Manchester City Club successfully brought back to the league. In the 1999-2000 season that just passed, Manchester City once again skipped a grade and returned to the Premier League. The market value has soared. In just over 2 years, the Manchester City Club, which Zhu Ke bought with £52 million, is now worth more than £80 million. Moreover, there is good news. Sky Sports is negotiating with the Premier League club league, and soon, there is a great possibility that it will substantially increase the cost of live broadcast and broadcast. If the negotiations go well, after the start of the new season, the market value of the Manchester City Club will definitely rise again. Of course, even if the market value of the Manchester City Club doubles several times, it still has a very small presence in Zhu Ke's various industries. However, one thing is undeniable: Zhu Ke's acquisition of the Manchester City Club is not about how much it is worth, but how much fame the Manchester City Club can bring to Zhu Ke, which can make Zhu Ke's other industries refreshing the popularity and influence of the famous brand. This is the main purpose. Another person also appeared, Michael Pratt. He is the chairman of the Royal National Lifeboat Association, charitable organization, and at the same time, he is also the chairman of Land Crown Capital, one of the well-known British hedge funds. Langham Capital is a well-known hedge fund in the UK and the third largest hedge fund in Europe. Many large banks, including Hang Seng Bank, Citibank and Morgan Bank, all hope to cooperate with him. Under Pratt's leadership, Langham Capital has achieved outstanding results. The annual transaction commissions and other service fees paid to the bank alone amounted to tens of millions of dollars. The purpose of my coming is very simple. Mr. Zhu Ke Wald and I have a New Year relationship. We have a common topic in the field of financial investment, Mr. Bear Grylls. Crossing the Atlantic solo is definitely a risky challenge. Look at venture capital again. It's also full of treacherous waves, and it almost coincides with Bell's adventurous spirit. So I'm here, and I'm here gladly. Michael Pratt shouted loudly in front of the camera. In the following time, the media reporters at the scene focused their attention on Zhu Ke. After all, Zhu Ke is not only a world-renowned super-rich and film company owner, but also one of the initiators of this single-man transatlantic, which naturally attracts much attention. Zhu Ke stood on the rostrum, facing a group of media reporters, and began to speak. Adventure? No, I want to say it is an adventure. An adventure that challenges the limits of mankind. Earth, we humans have conquered it. The sky, we humans have conquered it. Ocean, we have also conquered it. However, in the process of conquering, we rely on wisdom, technology and courage, among which technology factors occupy the most important position. Then ask, can we humans conquer the ocean by relying solely on wisdom and courage? So, this solo challenge of crossing the Atlantic Ocean was born. One person, one kayak, and only a small amount of food and drinking water. I think that this challenge can still be completed. Bell is the most suitable and courageous challenger. The press conference is over. However, the challenge of crossing the Atlantic Ocean alone was not implemented immediately. Bell needs to prepare. Bell has covered knowledge reserves in oceanography, climatology, biology, etc. www.uxiaspit.com, but he does not need to strive for excellence again. After all, the difficulty of this challenge is too great. Start the action hastily, then it will only end in failure. In the original time and space, Bell has prepared for 3 years before officially launching the challenge of crossing the Atlantic solo. Although the main reason is Bell's economic reasons, it is also a link for him to add knowledge and preparation. 7 months, Bell said, I need at least 7 months of preparation time. At the same time, it is August. In October and November, the Atlantic Ocean will be affected by ocean currents and seasons. The climate will become very cold and difficult. Therefore, I wanted to complete this challenge. We can only wait for the beginning of spring next year. Hearing this, Zhu Ke agreed. The shooting team jointly established by Jin Shuguang and ITV also agreed with this decision. This is my new plan after starting the film opening strategy and opening the TV overseas strategy. Zhu Ke clenched his fists. The first update is sent. Chapter 415, Overseas TV Expansion. The TV overseas strategic plan is related to the future trend of the Golden Shuguang Entertainment Group, However, its difficulty is not necessarily simpler than the construction of overseas distribution channels. For movies, to be precise, there are more issues to consider. The construction of distribution channels in the movie market tends to be a group of commercial activities. However, there are huge differences in television media. Many TV media in a country or region are in the hands of state capital. Even commercial TV stations must also consider political factors between countries and regions. Zhu Ke's television group has under its jurisdiction the unlimited pay TV network, the WB Public Television Network, as well as many regional television and radio stations in the United States that have just been acquired. Variety shows launched in recent years include popular shows such as Got Talent Show, Millionaire, WWE Reality Wrestling Entertainment, etc. TV drama projects include Bankrupt Sisters, Prison Break, The Walking Dead, The Big Bang Theory, and other high-view dramas. In terms of animation, there are two ace animation series, Peppa Pig and SpongeBob SquarePants. Plus the copyrights of dozens of Marvel superheroes, such as Spider-Man and Iron Man, in Zhu Ke's hands. There is no shortage of animation works. In terms of movies played, that is even more of a strength, backed by Wald Pictures, the best movies year after year, plus the copyrights of as many as 2,000 film library acquired in recent years. It is no exaggeration to say that the movies that Zucker's television group can play are no less inferior Hollywood's 6 major television stations. Music, news, life. With regard to the content of these programs, the Golden Dawn TV group is also growing rapidly and its influence is increasing day by day. Unlimited pay TV network. In the area of limited payment in the United States, TV network firmly occupies the top 8. The WB Public Television Network is also known as the 5th largest public television platform in the United States in terms of volume. Zhu Ke's TV group may still be far behind the previous ones, but in terms of the quality of the programs and annual profitability, the gap is not so far away from the 6 major ones. Moreover, the gap is narrowing. Zhu Ke's TV group, in the United States, is arrogant, and now it is not afraid of anyone but, overseas, My TV group has almost no influence. In contrast, public television stations such as NBC, ABC, and CBS, including limited pay TV networks such as HBO and Comcast Online, have launched overseas strategies a long time ago. They have become popular in the TV market in various countries and regions. My TV group has fallen behind them too much. From the perspective of the current world situation, the economies of all countries and regions in the world are rising rapidly. If my TV strategy is not implemented, then the opportunity for overseas expansion will be completely lost in the future. But Zhu Ke was not in a hurry. August 18th, on this day, Spider-Man has been released in the North American market for more than 10 days, and has achieved a box office of more than $230 million. The box office in the United States has exceeded $300 million. It is just around the corner. At the same time, Spider-Man movies have also landed in the film markets of overseas countries and regions, such as Canada, Mexico, Chile, and Brazil. The box office of its premiere has broken the box office records of the country and the region one after another, and the situation is very good. The movie is not far from the release time in Europe, Asia, Australia, and other countries and regions on this day. Zucker also made a breakthrough in London. Congratulations. Soon, we will be able to watch the programs of your company's Upton and WB TV stations in the UK. Wald, your company's TV network is stationed in the UK. This is indeed a great thing. You must know that Murdoch spent several years in order to enter the UK TV market. Every local TV person in the UK congratulated Zhu Ke one after another. Undoubtedly, this is the first step of Zhu Ke's TV overseas strategy, and the results are also very gratifying. August 23rd, Zhu Ke and the Icelandic government, as well as the local TV platform, signed an agreement to settle in the Golden Dawn TV group. Millions of citizens of Iceland will soon be able to watch high-quality TV programs provided by the TV network and the WB TV network. August 29th, in Norway, Zucker also successfully negotiated an agreement. In other words, as of now, Zhu Ke's overseas TV project has been completed in the United Kingdom, Iceland, and Norway. Compared with the 6 major Hollywood television stations, Zhu Ke has overseas television networks in dozens of countries and regions. Zhu Ke now it can only be regarded as a little trouble. However, this is also an improvement. August 31st, after Zhu Ke returned to Los Angeles smoothly, he immediately issued an order, let Victor and Donna speed up the overseas deployment of the TV group. At the end of this year, I will see the results. Okay, boss, Alexander replied at the same time. Zhu Ke issued an order to his think tank and financial management team to acquire Exploration Media shares. Discovery Media is a media company in the United States, and Discovery Channel is its flagship TV channel. Survival in the Wild, Zero Time and History, The Da Vinci Code Revealed, etc. are all its ace programs. Of course, many programs have not yet been launched, but even so, Exploration Media is one of the largest media in the United States, covering nature, technology, ancient and modern history, adventure, culture, and current affairs. Since its launch in 1985, it has become one of the most widely distributed television brands in the world. 1. Broadcast programs uninterruptedly in hundreds of millions of households in dozens of countries and regions around the world. As of 2020, the Discovery Channel under Discovery Media has covered more than 306 million families in more than 160 countries and regions around the world, broadcasting programs in 35 different languages from 2015 to 2016. Its annual revenue exceeded $10 billion. Explore the media, as long as it can take its shares. www.wuxiaspit.com and then enter the Exploration Media. Then Jinshiguang Entertainment Group will complete the development of the triple jump. By then, I will really have the ability to wrestle with Viacom Group, Disney Group, and News Corporation, of course. Zhu Ke also knows that it is very difficult to become a master and explore the media, and it cannot be done overnight. No hurry, I still have a lot of time, Zhu Ke secretly said. In the following days, Zhu rested for a few days and started a busy working life again. Tomb Raider, filmed in collaboration with Paramount. Zhu Ke must pay attention to it all the time. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone has been completed, and a new stage of publicity and promotion plan needs to be considered. Films such as Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Shark Beach, District 9, The Queen Wearing Prada, etc. also need to pay enough attention. The second update is sent. Chapter 416, DVD rental and sales of Spider-Man. In mid-September, Paramount Film and Television Base, I announced that the filming of Tomb Raider is complete. Today, the mirror is closed, Zhu Ke announced to everyone present on the set. Suddenly, there was a burst of thunderous applause and shouts from the entire scene at this moment. Whether it is the director Simon West or the absolute heroine Angelina Jolie of the film, they are also very excited. Tomb Raider has been officially approved since October 1999. In December 1999, Zhu Ke reached a cooperation with Paramount as a producer and began to plan the preparation of Tomb Raider in an all-round way. In February 2000, directors and actors were selected, and various working groups of the crew were formed. In May 2000, Tomb Raider officially started shooting. Up to now, in mid-September 2000, after nearly a year of preparation and shooting, the film was finally officially closed and all the shooting links were completed. The filming session is over, but the special effects, soundtrack, dubbing, editing, etc. in the later stage require a certain amount of time and effort. Zhu Ke laughed hearing that. Several persons in charge at the scene nodded their heads. Tom Harris, the second producer, said, "At that time, Mr. Wald will need you to spend a lot of money. With such an excellent film producer as you, we will have confidence in our hearts. I firmly believe that under the leadership of Mr. Alder, our Tomb Raider will definitely get a pretty good box office. After all, Mr. Wald is a famous movie genius. Listen, Tom Harris is so talkative, no wonder he can mix well in Hollywood. This person is both capable and good sounding. If he is unsuccessful, who will succeed? You're welcome, you're welcome." Zhu Ke waved his hand quickly. During the entire filming of Tomb Raider, Zhu Ke had a great time. Whether it was from the director, the second producer, or even the actors, Zhu was quite comfortable in the process of getting along. Well, even Zhu often misses the filming of the crew. "Zhu, at the reception later, you have to accompany me for a few more drinks." Angelina Jolie smiled. "Definitely," Zhu Ke responded with a smile. Director Simon West immediately said, "I also want to accompany Mr. Wald for a few more drinks. After all, if it were not for you, Mr. Wald, I would never have become the director of Tomb Raider." Hearing this, Zhu Ke immediately laughed and said, "Be humble, my friend. Your talent is beyond doubt. Even without the Tomb Raider movie, you will definitely be able to become an excellent director." "Well, too much? Well, I won't say much. After Tomb Raider is completed, maybe we can work together again, cooperate again." Director Simon West suddenly shined. Befriends Zhu. In his opinion, it is definitely a great thing. Classmate Zhu Ke is one of Hollywood's movie tycoons, the boss of Wald Pictures, and it is full of appeal to any director. At this moment, there was a sound of footsteps. Zhu Ke's chief assistant Alexander came over. Boss, Mr. Antioco from Blockbuster wants to see you. Where's he coming? Zhu Ke raised his brow. Blockbuster, the largest offline DVD and videotape distributor and rental service provider in the United States and even the world, has more than 9,000 stores and more than 60,000 employees worldwide. With a market value of up to $40 billion at the same time, Blockbuster and Paramount Pictures are subsidiaries of Viacom Group. Boss, do you want me to turn him down for you? Alexander said. Hearing this, Zhu Ke shook his head. It stands to reason that if you have any business cooperation with Blockbuster, it should be Victor, or the old Bill, and Kevin Fitch. It is not suitable for him to find me. But, after all, it's on Paramount's turf. Forget it. Let him come over. Yes, boss, Alexander responded and left immediately. Director Simon West, Julie and others, when they saw that Zhu Ke had something to talk about, immediately left with a face and a word. Sensible. Not long after, Antioco from Blockbuster came to Zhu Ke. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Wald. The visitor was very enthusiastic. Zhu Ke shook his hand. I know you. You are a talent. Antioco, one of the top executives of Blockbuster, is mainly responsible for the copyright negotiation business of DVD and videotape for now. In Blockbuster, there are many people with higher status and rights than Antioco, but in the future, Antioco is one of the absolute decision makers and a man who almost turned the tide. In 2003, Netflix emerged relying on online DVD rental. Netflix defeated Blockbuster and its business skyrocketed. With more than 4 million users, Blockbuster is just like the setting sun, and it's dying. At this critical moment, Antioco stood up. Once he took office, he opened Blockbuster's online service, and in just 1 year, he was overwhelmed by Netflix. But, in 2007, when Antioco was about to completely defeat the future streaming media giant Netflix, how could it? Blockbuster fell into days. The board of directors was unwilling to pay a bonus of $7.6 million, but only offered $5.6 million. So I chose to fire Antioco, the biggest hero. As of 2020, Netflix has become one of the world's largest streaming media giants, with a market value of more than $240 billion. What about the once giant Blockbuster? Gone. Completely gone. No, to be precise, there's only one store left for tourists to take photos and reminisce about the past glory of Blockbuster. Mr. Wald, the purpose of my coming today is to negotiate your company's Spider-Man offline DVD and videotape distribution and rental business, Antioco solemnly said. Okay, Zhu Ke nodded and said, I will consider your suggestion. To be honest, Zhu Ke didn't want to talk to Antioco, because it was so early to negotiate the distribution and rental business of Spider-Man offline DVD and videotapes, which would make Zhu Ke make a lot less money as a traveler. Zhu Ke knows the popularity of Spider-Man in the offline DVD market. Spider-Man www.uxiaspit.com has sold millions of copies and sold up to $110 million within a week after it went online, breaking the record of offline DVD sales for Hollywood movies at that time. Blockbuster, as the undertaking party, made a lot of money. However, at that time, Sony Columbia, the production company of the Spider-Man movie, did not earn as much as Blockbuster on the DVD item, which made people laugh. Zhu Ke didn't want to be a joke and a fool. In a word, the copyright can be sold to Blockbuster, but it cannot be sold so early. The next day Zhu Ke learned another news from his assistant Alexander. Future streaming media giant Netflix, whose founder and CEO Reed Hastings, is eager to see Zhu Ke. The first update is sent yesterday. The minister caught a bad cold, and today I have a hard time. Chapter 417, Streaming Empire. Reed Hastings of Netflix. Alexander, there shouldn't be any intersection between me and him, Zhu Ke asked, sitting on the sofa. Yes, the boss, whether it is Reed Hastings himself, Netflix, or even any shareholder of Netflix, you don't know the boss, nor do you have any social contacts, Alexander responded. Zhu Ke nodded, smiled, and said, you let him in. Alexander was taken aback for a moment, but he quickly reacted in his impression. Netflix is just a company that provides online DVD rental, with an overall value of more than $130 million, especially affected by the internet bubble. Netflix's losses in the first half of 2000 exceeded $45 million. The situation is very serious. Alexander has seen too many such companies. I wonder why the boss would be interested in Netflix. Alexander muttered. Most people would not understand, but who made Zhu Ke a traverser? The Disney Group is awesome, right? In 2018, it will acquire 20th Century Fox, which is also one of the 6 major Hollywood companies, with an overall market value of more than $200 billion. But in 2018, Netflix surpassed the Disney Group. Hello, Mr. Wald. This is Reed Hastings from Netflix. It is a great honor to meet you. Reed Hastings, who had just entered Zucker's office, was very polite and did not show the usual arrogance at all. Yes, Reed Hastings is a bit arrogant and has a bad temper, but here, does he dare? Being respectful, and respectful is his choice. Zhu glanced at Reed Hastings and said, "Our time is precious. Tell me what you are here, sir." "Okay." Hearing this, Reed Hastings solemnly said, "Mr. Wald, your Wald Pictures now has a film library of more than 2,000 films. IMHO, in addition to expensive, the company's self-produced movies are quite popular in the market, but what about other movies?" "Well, the copyrights of your company's more than 2,000 movies were acquired through acquisitions. It can be described as uneven. It can even be said that most of the movies have not been released offline on videotapes and DVDs. This is definitely a considerable loss for your company. The purpose of my visit this time is to win the offline distribution and distribution rights of this part of the film." The voice fell Zhu. Alexander's eyes were bright. He thought Reed Hastings' suggestion was very good. "First of all, we must understand, the nation's and the world's largest offline DVD and videotape distributor and rental company, Blockbuster, have a principle that they undertake the distribution and leasing of films. That is, they mainly focus on popular films. The last time, it will also go through the theater market. In other words, more than half of the movies produced by major American film companies each year fail to land in the theater market. It is even said that more than 35% of the movies are not even qualified to record videotapes and DVDs. Alexander, about how many of the films in our Wald Pictures library have not been released offline?" Zhu Ke turned around and asked. Alexander pondered for a moment, and then whispered to Zhu, "Boss, there are at least more than 1,500 films in the library, and there is no offline sale." "More than 1,500, I have to say that the quality of Wald Pictures film library is really bad enough. To be precise, the quality of Wald Pictures film library is one of the worst among all major Hollywood studios. More than 1,500 films that have not been released or sold offline are like rubbish." Mr. Wald, "Mr. Alexander, I came with the sincerity of Netflix. We are willing to take over this part of the film resources and push them all to the offline market." Reed Hastings said. Alexander was a little moved. After all, no matter how small a mosquito is, it is a piece of meat. The 1,500 films that have not been distributed or sold offline can be completely used as waste. Naturally, it is too late to be happy. However, Zhu Ke shook his head. "Sorry, I refuse." One stone stirred up 1,000 layers of waves. As soon as the voice fell, the confident face of Reed Hastings disappeared instantly, turning into consternation and disbelief. "Why?" Reed Hastings asked loudly. Bouncing from his seat, Zhu Ke immediately narrowed his eyes and whispered, "Do I need to tell you why?" Reed Hastings' pupils shrank, and he said quickly, Sorry, I lost my mind." At this moment, Alexander, as a bystander, was full of doubts. "Refuse? Isn't it obvious that you have money and you don't make money?" Alexander has been following Zhu for a long time. He knows Zhu very well, knowing that Zhu is the kind of mosquito who is the owner of a piece of meat no matter how small. "Boss, how could you refuse?" He didn't want to understand for the time being. At this moment, Reed Hastings was a little depressed. He didn't understand what he was sure of. How could the talk collapse? Zhu Ke said suddenly, "Mr. Hastings, the copyright of the film library of Wald Pictures, unfortunately cannot reach your cooperation, but I intend to invest in your company Netflix. I don't know if I have such an honor." Reed Hastings was taken aback immediately. If the cooperation fails, he should invest in Netflix instead. He is a little hard to understand. Zhu Ke's brain circuit. Netflix, one of the world's largest streaming media giants in the future, owns more than 100,000 movie rights, and its self-made House of Cards movie and TV series is even more popular all over the world. Moreover, the Film Association, Review, Classification, Committee, which symbolizes the supremacy of Hollywood films, will also receive a seat in 2012 for Netflix. You know, seats are a good thing. They are reserved for the Big Six in Hollywood and MGM, something that other film and television companies dream of and cannot get. Investment. Reed Hastings immediately smiled and said, "For Mr. Wald, you are taking a stake in Netflix. You reading www.uucan'tchoo.com. I personally welcome with my hands, but I am the founder, but the company, the board of directors has the final say on the shareholding. Zhu Ke understood very well Reed Hastings was the founder of Netflix, but after several rounds of Netflix's share expansion, his share of the shares was diluted to only 10%. In 2020, he holds only 1% of Netflix shares left. Of course, this is very common in listed companies in the United States. Not everyone is Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, who can hold a lot of shares. The next day Zhu Ke received the news that the board of directors of Netflix refused to accept Zhu Ke's shareholding and investment. The second update of was sent, and the author continued to open the code. Chapter 418, Zhu Ke as a Dragon. Netflix. After receiving the news, I learned that Zhu Ke wanted to buy a stake in Netflix. Netflix immediately convened the board of directors, and after an hour of discussion, the decision was made without hesitation. Never let that fellow Zhu Ke Wald become a shareholder of Netflix. He is a dragon, Denon West said solemnly. Denon West is one of Netflix's shareholder representatives and represents Barclays Bank. Barclays Bank is a British commercial bank and the third largest banking company in the UK after HSBC and Royal Bank of Scotland. As early as 1998, its total assets under management exceeded $350 billion, making it one of the proper economic predators. I also don't agree with Zhu Ke Wald's entry into Netflix. George Smith laughed and said, "Everyone, don't forget the lesson of the McAfee antivirus software company." McAfee's founder and former chairman Sam Inuk was ruthlessly kicked out of McAfee and was relieved of all duties. Reed Hastings. Not only Reed Hastings was silent, but even Netflix's management and founder team were silent. Netflix has been under great pressure in the near term, especially the lack of sufficient funds. Zhu Ke's wealth is of course the goal pursued by management teams such as Reed Hastings, but they are also worried about lessons learned. Even though Zhu Ke handled the McAfee change of ownership very quickly, he still left a notoriety. Kick the founder out of the company. It's so good to say or not. Haha. George Smith smiled again. I heard the news yesterday, and I told my boss Mr. BlackRock for the first time. He bluntly said, "I really don't like this person," like Zhu Ke Wald, and even a little disgusted. When the voice fell, everyone present was shocked. Mr. BlackRock? George Smith's boss, who is he? Speaking of this, one company has to be mentioned, BlackRock Group. It is also called the BlackRock Group, which sounds similar to another company, the BlackRock Group. In fact, both companies are large companies. The BlackRock Group is one of the largest listed investment management groups in the United States. Through its offices in the United States, Europe and Asia, it provides services to customers around the world. In 2009, BlackRock merged with Merrill Lynch, one of the 5 largest investment banks on Wall Street. In 2011, the assets of listed companies managed by the BlackRock Group exceeded $3.6 trillion. In 2019, BlackRock Group increased its holdings of HSBC Holdings with nearly 75.58 million shares, replacing Ping An Asset Management and becoming the largest shareholder of HSBC Holdings. Again, Barclays Bank owns more than 20% of Netflix shares. The BlackRock Group's share of Netflix is over 8%. The shareholder representatives of these two companies refuted Zhu Ke's entry into Netflix, which would naturally greatly affect the opinions of other shareholders and shareholder representatives. The remaining shareholders, there are the world's largest private equity funds, Blackstone Group, American Growth Foundation, etc. They said that it didn't matter, but in the end they stood on the side of Barclays Bank and BlackRock Group and opposed Zhu Ke's entry into Netflix. Golden Shugwang Entertainment Group. Am I stabbing a hornet's nest? The efficiency of Netflix's board of directors is so fast, and the shareholders who opposed my entry into Netflix exceed 85%. How do they hate me? Am I an evil dragon? It's ridiculous. Zhu Ke stood in front of the huge French windows in the office, looking into the distance. His heart could not be suppressed. A little angry, the McAfee change of ownership caused Zhu Ke to suffer notoriety, and the impact is so bad that it is beyond imagination. Even if I have such a notorious reputation, I won't let the shareholders representatives of Netflix have such a strong attitude towards my share purchase. To be honest, Zhu Ke and Netflix had no intersection before even the shareholders of Netflix, Barclays Bank, BlackRock Group, Blackstone Group, American Growth Fund. Zhu Ke also dared to say, there is no intersection. How did such a big evil idea come from? Zhu Ke was puzzled at this moment. A rapid knock on the door sounded. Come in. Who came in was surprisingly Chief Assistant Alexander. Boss, Barclays Bank and BlackRock Group. I have found the reason for opposing your entry into Netflix. Alexander handed Zucker a piece of information. I have to say that Alexander's ability to do things is very strong data. After reading the information, Zhu Ke immediately became happy. I said how the two companies, Barclays Bank and BlackRock, dislike me so much. It turns out that I caused them to suffer huge losses. It's no wonder, as we all know, before the internet bubble burst, Zhu Ke was one of the lucky getaways. Even if he sold internet stocks and technology stocks, Zhu Ke made a lot of money subsequently. The internet bubble burst, numerous internet companies and listed companies have gone bankrupt and went bankrupt, and the losses can be described as disastrous. Countless investors and investment institutions have complained repeatedly. Well, among them are Barclays Bank and BlackRock Group. But what did Zucker do? Short. Go short. Taking advantage of the opportunity of the internet bubble detonation, Zhu Ke, as one of the first to get out, has a large cash flow reserve, and is naturally able to turn the tide in the stock market. Barclays Bank and BlackRock Group have suffered greatly. The direct economic losses that Zhu Ke caused to their two companies exceeded $5 billion, and the indirect economic losses exceeded $30 billion. Boss, if I were the top of Barclays Bank and BlackRock, I would hate you too. Alexander laughed. Zhu nodded and smiled. I guess. If it weren't for the two companies, Barclays Bank and BlackRock Group had not been completely liberated from the whirlpool of the internet bubble, they would have retaliated against me long ago. Keeping grudges is not exclusive to Zhu Ke. Looking around the world, www.uxiaspit.com. People who hold grudges, there are simply too many people, and they can completely fill up a Pacific Ocean. Boss, is this the end of Netflix's business? Alexander asked. To be honest, Alexander hopes that Zhu can cooperate with Netflix. After all, the more than 1,500 films in the film library are rotten in the film library, and they are completely unable to form economic value. And here? That won't work. Zhu Ke laughed and said, Netflix lost more than $45 million in the first half of the year. If it is not bad, they are only a few days away from breaking the capital chain. Barclays Bank and BlackRock are rich. That's right, but they haven't been liberated from the internet bubble yet. I don't believe that they will pay to save Netflix. I can wait. Streaming media giants have a great effect on building Zhu Ke's media empire. The third update will be sent, and the third update will continue tomorrow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Zhu is waiting for Netflix, the future streaming media giant, to appear as a fighter with a shortage of funds. However, the development of things is often not shifted by human will. Zhu made a wrong judgment. A few days later, the management of Netflix, in the form of mortgage shares, borrowed $40 million from several commercial banks on Wall Street for the development of the company. When Zhu received the news, he was already a step late. Boss, if you still want to take a stake in Netflix, there will be no chance at all this year, Alexander said. Zhu nodded solemnly, but was relieved after a few seconds. Not urgent. As long as Netflix fails to make a profit, I have a chance. Classmate Zhu Ke is a traverser. Apart from anything else, he knew that Netflix really turned losses into profits, and initially had the ability to compete with Blockbuster. It was in 2003. Well, as long as I have a chance before the beginning of 2003, Zhu Ke secretly said in his heart. The next day, Wald Pictures president Bill Mitnick's office, the old Bill, who was about to retire, came to the company very early today and met with a crew of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon who just returned from the Toronto Film Festival in Canada. Director Lian, producer Zhang Ziqiang, and soundtrack master Tan Dun-Ang Li, needless to say, can be regarded as the #1 Chinese film director in Hollywood. Zhang Ziqiang is not a small name. He's a well-known film producer and one of the few people who can bring Eastern movies into the United States. Even Zhang Yimou Zhang Guoxi's Hero and Ambush on 10 Sides were released overseas, and he was also the #1 promoter and had close contacts with Sony Columbia. Tan Dun, who is also a famous music master in the Chinese circle, has won numerous awards at home and abroad, and in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, he also participated in the creation of logo music and awards music. All three of them are famous Chinese. At this moment, the expressions of Liang's trio were not very good looking. I read the data report of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Since the film was completed in April 2000, it has participated in the Cannes Film Festival in France, the Jakarta Film Festival in Indonesia, and the Toronto Film Festival in Canada. However, it still cannot be covered up. The film's failure in the Great Chao market, Bill Micknick said solemnly, "That's right, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon hit the street at the box office. Well, the kind of blood loss. The movie had already landed on the Chao market and the 1-1 market of the Chao at the beginning of July. However, the result, in the 3 weeks after the movie was released, in the 1-1 market of the Great Heaven Dynasty, only $70 million was collected, which is less than $2 million. What about the mainland movie market in the Great Heaven Dynasty? 3 weeks after the release, the box office did not exceed $1 million, and many movie theaters have forcibly removed Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon from the shelves. No way. It doesn't look good. Even before, many viewers bought tickets for Liang's name, but now they are disappointed. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a martial arts film dressed in an oriental garb but with a core but completely Western style. It is very different from traditional martial arts films. In other words, it is a non-mainstream martial arts film. China Film Weekly. It cannot be said that it is not good. It can only be said that it is a product that caters to the West and contradicts the traditional values of Eastern civilization. Therefore, it cannot please the Eastern audience. It is reasonable or inevitable, Oriental times. In a word, the current situation of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is not optimistic. The American market is the last straw for director Ang Lee. If he fails again, he will completely lose the opportunity to gain a foothold in Hollywood. Producer Zhang Ziqiang secretly said. A long-time director Ang Lee looked at Old Bill with scorching eyes, gritted his teeth and said, "Mr. Micknick, according to the original plan, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon will be released in the United States in December 2000. This will not change. No way. The box office of the American market will be his only chance. This will not change," Old Bill said solemnly. "The release date will not change, and the number of 200 cinemas will not change, but I don't expect the box office of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon very well." Hearing this, the three of Ang Lee were suddenly excited. Judging from the current situation, even if Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is released in the United States, the situation will not be optimistic. Throughout the history of Hollywood movies, there are really few foreign films that can get high box office in the United States. There are only a few foreign films that can get more than $50 million, and there is only one beautiful life. As the saying goes, there is an old family, like a treasure. Although the Old Bill is about to retire, his brain is not as bright as before, but his decades of experience in Hollywood are a very valuable asset. Facing the dilemma of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, he naturally has a feasible plan. Look at this. Old Bill took out a stack of materials from the drawer. The three took it data on September 29, 2000, the Reykjavik Film Festival in Iceland, on October 7, 2000, the Hungarian Great International Film Festival, on October 9, 2000, the New York Film Festival in the United States, October 12, 2000, Austin Film Festival, America, Flanders International Film Festival, Vienna International Film Festival, Tokyo International Film Festival, Hawaii Film Festival. Just before the end of December 2000, the film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon will be exhibited in as many as 27 film festivals in various countries and regions. The number is staggering. Mr. Micknick, is this too much? The soundtrack master Tan Dun exclaimed. A lot. Old Bill stared at the three of them, spreading his hands. Participating in so many film festivals is to create momentum for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Don't forget, our goal is the Oscar in March next year. As long as we can get Oscar nominations and awards, then Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon will definitely be able to take advantage of this. In the afternoon, after the Old Bill had an interview with Liang in the morning, in the afternoon, he immediately convened an executive meeting of Wald Pictures. Kevin, has the finance department given the amount of publicity needed for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? Old Bill asked. Upon hearing this, Kevin Fitch nodded and said, after the accounting of the finance department and the propaganda department, to complete such a large number of film festival publicity, it is estimated that at least $8 million will be required, Old Bill Lang said. Direct appropriation of $10 million www.wuxiaspet.com. The momentum has to be created. Give an extra $2 million. Kevin Fitch has no reason to object. After a while, Old Bill fixed his gaze on Zack Snyder again. Zack is not only a director, at the same time, He also has a temporary position at Wald Pictures as the director of the production department. Zach, you will be responsible for the overseas film festival promotion of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Okay, Old Bill said sternly. Zack Snyder knew it was a chore, but he bit the bullet and agreed. Old Bill wanted to turn the tide of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and create a box office miracle. However, in the eyes of other film companies, this is an extremely bad decision. The first update is sent. Chapter 420, Overlord of Halloween Schedule. Golden Shugwang Entertainment Group, boss. This is the information sent by Mr. Micknick. Alexander said. Hugh nodded, looked at the information, and immediately understood the Old Bill's thoughts. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a foreign film for the United States, and it is also a foreign language film from the East. It is naturally in a weak position in the United States. Therefore, if you want to get a high box office, you can only take the Oscar route. Old Bill is good enough, Zhu Ke said in amazement, participating in 27 film festivals in a row. This is a rhythm that is completely free from morality. In fact, it's not just that Old Bill is shameless. It has always been the way to target Oscar movies, but it is not as frequent as the crew of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, film, Separate Ways and Not Divorce, Czech Republic, Everyone is Fame, Belgium, Meeting a 100% Coincidental Love, France, Love is a Bitch, Mexico. There are more than a dozen films that want to compete for this year's Oscars for the best foreign language film. Basically, every film is in various countries and regions around the world, and continues to exhibit and expand its influence. Boss, it seems that we have the largest budget for the promotion of this year's best foreign language film. Alexander laughed. You do not say. Just participating in 27 film festivals at home and abroad, Wald Pictures has prepared $10 million in publicity expenses. Except for the accident of Oscar competition, Wald Pictures is definitely a big deal. Dividing roads and keeping dating, Everyone becomes famous, Meeting a 100% Coincidental Love. May I ask these crews and the production companies behind them, who has invested so much in publicity? No, not even one. Without big investment, where can there be high returns? Zhu Ke suddenly said. In addition to the competition for the best foreign language film for the Oscars in March next year, Ang Lee and the others don't want to win more awards. You should know that in the history of the original Time and Space, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon not only won the best foreign language film, but also won the best art direction, the best original soundtrack, and the best photography, a total of 4 Oscars. Famous at home and abroad. Alexander stunned for a moment, and then smiled. 4 other public relations awards. On one point, director Ang Lee and Zhang Zhi forced the film. They talked to Mr. Micknick, and they will give out an additional award for public relations expenses. Zhuk nodded. To put it bluntly, the Oscar award is a commercial event. You don't spend money on public relations. Do you still want to win prizes? Foolish dreams. Many directors and production companies spend money on public relations Oscars, not only because of those awards, but because of the economic effects of the Oscar awards, which can indeed attract a lot of movie audiences. There are even many film companies in Hollywood, which mainly rely on public relations Oscar awards as the basis for survival. In a blink of an eye, 1 month passed following the release of Spider-Man in early August. Wald Pictures has released 2 more films, namely Fatal Bend 3 and Human Removal Project 2. Fatal Bend 3, as the 3rd film in the Fatal Bend series, was released in the United States in early October. The reputation of the sequel movie has inevitably declined, but this kind of plasma film can still attract a lot of movie audiences. Join in. Oh, word of mouth decline. I do not mind. After watching the first and second parts, I naturally don't want to miss the 3rd part. A movie audience answered reporters' questions at the gate of the theater. The sequel movie, as long as it is not particularly bad, it is definitely profitable. Fatal Corner 3 has been released for nearly a month, and has harvested more than $51 million worldwide. Compared with Fatal Corner 1's $56 million and Fatal Corner 2's $64 million, there is no doubt that the box office has dropped a lot. But so what? You know, the production cost of Fatal Bend 3 is only $3.5 million, and the publicity fund is no more than $7 million. This kind of low-cost and high-efficiency horror thriller movie is undoubtedly the favorite of the production company. Many Hollywood studios express their envy, but this year's Halloween schedule, Wald Pictures failed to reach the top spot. Meet Father-in-Law, released on October 6, is a comedy film produced by Universal Pictures. It was uncharacteristically released as a comedy film on Halloween schedule and successfully attracted a large number of movie audiences as of October 31st. In the United States alone, the Meet Father-in-Law movie had a box office of $93 million. The movie Meet Father-in-Law is a comedy film that can be shown for a long time. Its final North American box office will exceed $140 million. That is entirely possible. Hollywood Film Weekly said in an article Halloween is a stack of horror thriller movies, but it is dominated by a comedy movie, which makes many movie companies embarrass. The old Bill of Wald Pictures also scolded Universal Pictures for shame. His classmate Zhu Ke was full of joy, and secretly said, "It turns out to be this movie, Meeting Father-in-Law, is a typical American nonsense movie." Robert De Niro's father-in-law is very prominent. Even in 2020, whether it is in The Oily Turtles in the United States or at Station B of The Great Heaven Dynasty, it will be played. Existence in extremely high amounts. A Fatal Bend 3 can't do Meet Father-in-Law, so add another Human Removal Project 2. Human Elimination Project 2 was released at the end of October, just before Halloween, and achieved a box office score of $29 million in the first weekend's 3 days. With this result, he directly won the top spot of the North American movie box office chart that week. But the word-of-mouth decline is serious. Since the release of Human Removal Project 1 for more than 2 years, its comprehensive score on major scoring websites still has 7.3 points. Looking at horror and thriller movies, a score of 7.3 is definitely a high reputation score. However, what about the reputation of Human Removal Project 2? In just 3 days after the release, the score fell below 6 points, only 5.8 points. With the passage of time, the final score is estimated to be 5.1 points. Thank goodness. Undoubtedly www.wooksiaspit.com. The overlord of this Halloween schedule is Universal Pictures' Meet Father-in-Law, 2 consecutive films released by Wald Pictures, and the sequel to the popular horror film, have not been able to do it. These are the 6 strengths of Hollywood. Even if Universal Pictures has been a little low-key in the past 2 years, they can dominate Invincible even if it's Halloween time. Wald Pictures still has a long way to go. Zhu Ke's dream was shattered by the cruel reality, but there are still many benefits. At least Zhu Ke and the entire Golden Dawn Entertainment Group can be more calm and practical. 2 years, Zhu Ke warned himself and reminded everyone. 2 years. Wald Pictures needs 2 years to settle and lay a solid foundation before it can expand again. The second update of was sent, and the author continued to open the code. Chapter 421, Hollywood 6 has exploded. Universal Pictures dominated the Halloween schedule with a comedy film called Meet Father-in-Law. Wald Pictures was lost. After all, it was left behind by others. However, Hollywood's small and medium film companies were desperate, and many companies lost money during the Halloween schedule. Many more companies have suffered a blood loss. Lionsgate's owner Gusta said, "It's okay, we still have a Thanksgiving schedule." Artisan Entertainment's major shareholder Joseph said in an interview with the media, "We Artisan Entertainment is full of confidence for the upcoming Thanksgiving Day schedule and will surely be able to achieve outstanding box office results and send it to movie audiences across the United States and the world. A holiday blessing, they are confident, but is it true? Shit." At the beginning of November, many Hollywood film company bosses were stunned when they watched the schedule for the theaters in November. Nema is too scary. Throughout the November schedule, the 6 major Hollywood companies all have blockbuster films released on November 3rd. The Charlie Girl, jointly produced by Sony Columbia and Flower Film and Television, was released on November 7th. Little Naughty 2, produced by Paramount, was released on November 9th. Drug Network was released on November 17th. Christmas Geek, produced by Universal Pictures, was released. Throughout the Thanksgiving holiday in November, it can be said that blockbuster films have gathered, and big directors and star actors have made their efforts in this period. This year's Thanksgiving holiday schedule can be called a death schedule. Yes, it is basically the 6 major Hollywood competitions. The films of other film companies can only be reduced to the fate of cannon fodder. Look carefully at the schedule of these movies. Where is there room for small and medium film companies to survive? Many film company bosses are desperate during the Thanksgiving holiday season. In previous years, Hollywood's 6 major meat-eating companies made a lot of money, but other film companies can also follow the soup, get a slice of pie, and a sweet cake. But this year, it's a good thing not to lose money, said a film company boss. The fact is also true. Even Zucker is utterly stupefied. The Christmas Geek movie, released on November 17th, was produced and distributed by Universal Pictures. The king of American comedy, Jim Carrey. I know how powerful it is as a traverser, Zhu secretly said in his heart for a long time. Zhu can't remember many Hollywood movies, but Zhu remembers the movie Christmas Geek very clearly. Christmas Geek was the champion of the North American movie box office charts in 2000. The blockbuster-packed November Thanksgiving holiday schedule has become the top 6 private places in Hollywood, and many small and medium-sized film companies have wailed and lost their lives. But this is just the beginning. The Christmas schedule in December is even more cruel. 20th Century Fox Pictures news magnate Rupert Murdoch personally visited Fox Pictures. Fox Pictures must be the biggest winner during the Christmas period in December. Remember, I only want the results, not the process. Murdoch looked around everyone hearing that. All the senior executives present were sitting in jeopardy if the Thanksgiving holiday schedule in November this year is a large-scale death schedule. Then the Christmas schedule in December this year is a super cruel schedule that surpasses the death schedule, which is rare in 10 years. On December 22nd, Survival on the Deserted Island produced by 20th Century Fox was released. The actor of Dead Island Survival, but the two-time Oscar winner Tom Hanks for Best Actor. The production cost of this film is as high as $98 million, and the publicity budget is as high as $50 million. Disney Group. Ladies and gentlemen, since the second half of this year, the Disney Group has released another movie. Which movie has earned more than $50 million in the North American box office? No, none of them. We are almost a joke. The Disney Group, one of Hollywood's 6 biggest animation bases, is the world's favorite animation base for children, but its performance this year is so bad. Our stock price has fallen to a degree that surpassed everyone's imagination. Gentlemen and ladies, stop the endless infighting, Chairman Michael Eisner said to the crowd with a surge of heart. However, many of the executives present sneered. In particular, Roy Disney, a member of the Disney family, sneered at Michael Eisner. However, even if the infighting is so serious, Disney has launched a number of movies in succession during this year's Christmas schedule. On November 22nd, The Undead Tribulation was released. On December 1st, 102 Dalmatians was released. On December 15th, Transformed into a King was released. On December 22nd, The Thunderbolt Master was released. On December 19th, Disney's subsidiary Zinxon Pictures, produced 13 Days of Shocking, was released. On December 25th, Miramax Pictures, a subsidiary of Disney, released Chocolate. In other words, from the end of November to December, Disney produced and released as many as 6 movies. The other 6 Hollywood companies are not inferior in their schedules in December. 100% Men by Paramount Pictures, Sony Columbia's Vertical Limit and Looking for Forest, The Man at Home by Universal Pictures, Warner's Beauty Pageant and Undercover. Wait, too many movies will be released in December. How to play this? Just postpone the schedule. Yeah, this schedule is terrible. First Halloween time, then Thanksgiving holiday time, and now Christmas time. My goodness, the 6 major Hollywood movies are released. This is not for our small and medium film companies to survive. All of a sudden, with the efforts of the 6 major Hollywood studios, the entire Hollywood small and medium-sized film companies all felt a tremendous amount of pressure. DreamWorks, known as the #1 film company under the Big Six, www.wooksiaspit.com, has flinched during this Christmas period. MGM, once one of the top 8 Hollywood companies, it has fallen, and it has disappeared during this Christmas period. Who can challenge the Big Six? Hollywood Film Weekly. The powerful attack of the Big Six directly shredded all the film companies, completely letting the world understand who is in charge of Hollywood and overlooking all living beings. However, at this moment when no one can challenge the Big Six, Walt Pictures stood up. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is set to be released nationwide on December 15th. On December 15th, Paramount's Man 100%, Disney's Transfiguration King and Miramax's Chocolate will also be released at the same time. The third update is sent. Chapter 422, competing for the number of screenings. Golden Shugwang Entertainment Group, the Christmas stroll is one of the most important schedules of the year. Zhu Ke got up and looked at the executives present, and said loudly, "Before, we have experienced many important schedules, but, undoubtedly, we have never experienced a Christmas schedule." Upon hearing this, Victor and others were immediately solemn. Walt Pictures has released many excellent films in succession, but it is true that it has never released any film during the Christmas period. It's not that I don't want to, but I can't. The Christmas schedule has long been the 6 private places in Hollywood. The works of other film and television companies are simply unable to participate in the competition for this schedule. Even if they are barely released, they will only be reduced to the fate of cannon fodder. because there is no way to get the number of open theaters. Old Bill, what did the cinema side say? Zhu Ke asked. For a time, all the eyes of everyone present were on Bill Mitnick. Well, the movie Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was the last project that Bill was responsible for before his retirement. Old Bill said solemnly, "The situation is not very optimistic." Upon hearing this, everyone present immediately sank. Kevin Fitch couldn't help but continue, "I'll do it. Since October, Mr. Mitnick and I have successively started around with the major North American theater operators such as Emperor Entertainment Theater, AMC Theater, and ZYNOPSIS Theater on the release of Harry Potter. Another round of negotiations, but the result was not very good." While speaking, Kevin Fitch took out a stack of materials from his briefcase. This information records in detail the experience of Harry Potter in the last 2 months. Since the beginning of October, Wald Pictures has invited many fans to watch Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Salt Lake City, San Francisco and other places. More than 52% of the audience gave an A+ rating. More than 85% of the audience gave an A score. Generally speaking, most of the audience after watching the movie are full of interest in the fantasy movie Harry Potter, but the theaters don't think so. Emperor Entertainment Theater. "I don't deny that Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is a good movie, whether it is from the wonderful degree of special effects, or the magical story like a dream, or even the performance of the little actors. So good, but fantasy movies like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone have not experienced market recognition, and we can't offer high-volume movies from the beginning." AMC Cinemas. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is an excellent fantasy adaptation and has many readers, but after all, it has only been released for a few years. It is not Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. If it's a Lord of the Rings movie, so our AMC Cinema will definitely give high-ranking movies. Does it make sense for Emperor Entertainment Cinemas and AMC Cinemas? Fart. These are all excuses. The ZYNOPSIS theaters who have a good relationship with Wald Pictures and have worked well in the Spider-Man movie before are more sincere. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is undoubtedly a good movie. As long as the eyes are not blind, it can be judged that it can get a good movie box office in the market. But Emperor Entertainment and AMC Cinemas, why can't they give high-ranking movies? Everything is profitable. The first vice president of ZYNOPSIS Cinemas personally said to Old Bill, "The reason why the Christmas schedule has become the top 6 private places is because the 6 top film production rates are second to none in the world. They have enough movies to guarantee for the hot screenings during the Christmas period. What about small and medium-sized film companies? Can they guarantee that films will be released on Christmas every year? Do not. They can't guarantee the quantity, let alone the quality." After reading the information, Zhu took a deep breath and said, "In other words, as of December 15th, there are only 1,300 cinemas in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 1922 home." Old Bill added, "I have negotiated more than 300 cinemas from other small and medium-sized theaters, totaling 1922 cinemas. To be honest, Zhu Ke is not satisfied with this number of paintings. Not long ago, when Spider-Man was released, the number of openings on the day of the premiere was as high as 3,600 theaters. Now it's the turn of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to be released. The number of theaters showing is almost cut in half. Do you think Zhu can be satisfied? The word of mouth of a movie is very important. It can guarantee the lower limit of a movie, but it cannot determine the upper limit." Blockbuster, famous overnight. At the beginning of the game, a hot and rolling situation can be formed, so that the movie can achieve high box office to the greatest extent. Well, Titanic doesn't count as a wall hanging. The number of opening pictures in the premiere directly affects the final box office of a movie. Well, most likely it is correct. Old Bill, what is the schedule for Paramount's Man 100% and Disney's Turn the King? Zhu asked again. 3,400, 2,150. Old Bill said solemnly, "Paramount's movie Man 100% is a good movie. I saw it and it has 3,400 paintings. It deserves its name, but Disney's changed the king of the body, huh? To be honest, it's the same thing, undoubtedly." Paramount and Disney gained an advantage on December 15th. This meeting lasted for a long time, with a full 6 hours before and after it ended. In the end, the Old Bill came up with a rather bold idea. In the American domestic market, we can't do much more than Paramount and Disney in terms of the number of paintings. We have to admit this. Then we might as well switch the market. The North American release date of Harry Potter has not changed, and it will be released in the UK ahead of schedule, making the UK market the premier location of Harry Potter. Released in advance, premiere in the UK ahead of time. I have to say that this idea is bold enough. If it succeeds, it is bound to have an impact on the North American market, but if the box office of Harry Potter premieres in the UK market is not good, then the box office of the local American market will also be adversely affected in the end. Zhu Ke Wald, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone premiered in the UK first. Again, if the film's premiere in the UK fails, it will be difficult for Wald Pictures to further compete for the placement of the North American film market. Paramount Pictures, I have to say www.wooksiaspit.com Wald Pictures is developing fast enough. Old friend Jordan exclaimed the number of open theaters that Wald Pictures acquired during the Christmas period is much lower than that of Paramount Pictures. But being able to have the courage to join the Christmas period competition in itself shows the current strength of Wald Pictures. Amazing enough, take a look at other Hollywood studios. One family is considered a family. Do they dare to join the Christmas competition? Haha. Even DreamWorks has flinched this Christmas time. Paramount President Shirley Lansing said in a deep voice, "Jordan, we just got news that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone premiered in the UK ahead of time. Pay close attention to it. Once it succeeds in the UK, then for us, it is definitely not good news. Yes, boss, the battle for the Christmas schedule is like a battlefield where you die and die." The first update is sent. Chapter 423, Baez doll sales rise. Dear friends in front of the TV, you are watching the ABC radio and television station, the Special Film Express broadcast for you. I am your old friend Mendel Cousins. On the TV screen at the moment, an evening entertainment news with fairly good ratings is being broadcast. Each program can attract millions of families, covering 2 million to 4 million people. Especially in New York and other places, it has a lot of influence. Today, the topic we are paying attention to is naturally the upcoming Christmas. When it comes to Christmas, our Movie Express program has to talk about the vigorous, lively, and upcoming Christmas schedules. Wonderful movie, the host Cousins said in a loud voice. Universal Pictures House Man, Sony Columbia's Vertical Limit, Miramax's Chocolate, Paramount's Man 100%, 20th Century Fox's Dead Island Survival, Warner's Beauty Pageant and Undercover. Of course, there is also the courageous Wald Pictures' Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Over the Christmas period in December, there were as many as 32 new films released in the North American market, plus the ones that were still popular in November. It was like a battle and a visual feast. A family somewhere on New York. Well, this is a family of 4, a pair of parents, a pair of children and adolescents. At this moment, the family is sitting around the dining table and eating while watching TV programs. The bearded father chewed up a bite of corn and said, "Film Express? I don't know what's so good about the old and bad show." The host Mendel Cousins also has a big tooth now. "I don't even want it." "See him?" The red-haired mother immediately laughed and cursed. "You are still so careful. Isn't it the Christmas time viewing guide recommended by Movie Express last year? It disappointed you. As for you to gnash your teeth for so long." The eldest daughter smiled and said, "Mom, my father is famous for being careful. Don't you know that you forgot Teacher Charlie in our school?" Teacher Charlie. Speaking of this, the bearded father immediately flushed with anger. Obviously, the past can't bear to look back. "Okay, don't talk about it," the younger son suddenly said. "I have read the books Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I love them very much." This time the live-action movie of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the screen. I believe Mendel Cousins will also recommend it in the show. After all, many book fans are looking forward to it and it will be shown in the morning. The TV show continues. In this issue, the Christmas viewing guide movies recommended for you are Men 100%, Desert Island Survival, Become a King, and finally Beauty Pageant. Host Mendel Cousins said the voice failed. The youngest son, who had been looking forward to it, collapsed immediately. Fact shit like Cousins. He didn't even recommend Harry Potter? His conscience was taken away by Satan. How much does he look down on fantasy fairy tales? The youngest son was angry, and all the plates in his hands fell to the ground. When the bearded father saw his son doing this, he immediately confided in his heart and said in a deep voice, "How can you knock the dinner plate over?" Hearing this, the eldest daughter immediately helped her forward and shrugged her shoulders. "Dad, I thought you would say that Lit was bad cursing, and you would teach him a good meal. Who would have thought? Your focus turned out to be overturned." Dinner plate. Oh, my God. ABC TV is a subsidiary of the Disney Group. How will it help Wald Pictures to promote it? As things have progressed to this day, the 6 major Hollywood suppression of Zhu has become more and more obvious. Even if they are friends with Zhu, Paramount Pictures and 20th Century Fox Pictures, They will not care too much. The cake is so big. The 6 major groups of vested interests will never be shared with others. The next day, Golden Shugwang Entertainment Group. Boss, this is the news this morning. I bought a dozen copies. Alexander said. Zhu shrugged his shoulders and took over the dozen or so newspapers: Boston Evening News, New York Morning Post, Washington Post, Hollywood Film Weekly, Time, Entertainment Edition. Boss, this time the 20th Century Fox Films has made a lot of noise. Their new work, Dead Island Survival, has the participation of FedEx, and the film is even called a FedEx commercial. But look at the news this morning. From now until New Year's Day, any FedEx package will be printed with Desert Island Survival advertisements. Tisk tisk great. Alexander talked freely. Zhu drank a cup of coffee and nodded calmly. Let's talk about Paramount's 100% Man, Good Guy. Although both Paramount Pictures and Blockbuster are subsidiaries of Viacom, this time, Paramount Pictures has 9,000 in the United States in order to promote a Men 100% movie. At the entrance of the Blockbuster store, a movie poster was posted. Tusk tusk, I am envious. As Alexander continued, Zhu was still very calm throughout the Christmas season in December. The only movies that Zhu can value are Tom's Dead Island Survival and Paramount's Man 100%. These 2 movies. As for the others, Beauty Pageant, Become a King, Chocolate, Looking for Forest, What kind of stinky fish and shrimp are these? Under the film Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, what are they worth? Rotten sweet potato, rotten eggs. Although I am full of confidence in Harry Potter, but head on. I will never get better. Zhu Ke secretly said that dozens of newspapers bought by Alexander are enough to see how strong the Big Six in Hollywood are in the traditional Halloween schedule, and their advantages in media promotion and the influence of theaters have surpassed Zhu by too much. It's not that Zhu Ke is not strong, but some influence takes time to settle. Throughout November to December, Zhu felt pressure again in terms of movies. However, Zhu laughed again when it came to the sale of dolls. The sales of Bias dolls have exploded. The sales of Bias dolls in November, to be precise, the sales of dolls in the United States accounted for 40% of the market share, second only to the 52% share of Mattel's Barbie dolls. The news www.wooksyaspit.com shocked the United States. Mattel's Barbie dolls have always been a lonely existence in the dress-up doll market. They have dominated the market for decades, and that time did not occupy more than 90% of the market share. But what about this November? Only 52%. Even if it is still the first place, it is much worse than before. Barbie's biggest opponent has appeared. It is Bias doll. A designer in the same industry shouted. This sentence has won the recognition of many people. The status of Barbie doll's quest for defeat is gone forever. Christmas is coming. Once her Barbie dolls show a decline in sales again, the Bias dolls who came from behind will never let go of this opportunity. We can't afford this shame, Mattel CEO, facing reporters, said in the interview. The second update is sent. Chapter 424, That Girl. December 1st, A street in downtown Los Angeles. Look, so? This is where I decided after a long time. Lima stood on a busy and crowded street, pointed to a locked storefront, and said to Zhu Ke. Zhu Ke looked around. Don't tell me, this little shop has a really good location. It's only half an hour's drive from Los Angeles International Airport. There are a large number of rich artistic lofts and high-end apartments near the street, gathering a variety of professionals, artists, creatives and other groups. During the day, this is the bustling commercial center of Los Angeles. At night, it became the focus of the diet. The trendy top-floor bar on the street next door allows you to see the magnificent city view, as well as famous restaurants such as Bestia, Staples Center, Art Deco Union Station, Bradbury Building. The location chosen by Lima is really great. Is that surprised? Now let me open the door lock and let you take a good look inside. Lima raised his head and chested out, then took out a key from the bag and unlocked the door. Zhu Ke gestured to everyone in the security team. You are waiting outside, and Alexander will follow. Yes, boss. Everyone nodded and said yes. Zhu stepped into the store. The logo of Bishiantang is everywhere in the store. Seeing this logo, Zhu Ke immediately raised his brows, feeling a bit familiar. Zhu Ke, Bishiantang was well known in the past. It is a light luxury chain store headquartered in New York. Its business areas are mainly concentrated in New York State and California. It has about 10 stores and mainly sells clothing, design and brand bags. Mainly. Well, of course, it also sells various luxury brands from Europe. Their products are very popular with the middle class. Lima has been with Zhu for many years, and of course he knew what Zhu was thinking, so he almost explained it. Zhu Ke suddenly patted his head and said, I remember, Will, the founder and owner of Jade Hall, I used to know him. After speaking, Zhu turned to look at Alexander again, wanting further confirmation. Boss, you are right, Alexander responded. In 1997, in the Human Removal Project 1 movie we shot, there was biodang as the place to place advertisements. Hearing this, Zhu suddenly realized, but immediately felt strange again in Zhu Ke's impression. Weir, the founder and owner of biodang, is a very smart and capable person. And he is a man who does great things at first glance. How could he give up this golden shop in front of Zhu Ke? Unreasonable. Lima, did you rent this store, or did you buy it together with a real estate? Zhu Ke couldn't help asking. Lima replied, I bought it, together with the property rights, and spent a total of $1.15 million. While speaking, Lima also showed a kind of painful performance. In fact, the same is true of the facade, which was purchased for $1.15 million, covers an area of only more than 100 square meters. This is the commercial facade house in the city center. If it is replaced with a villa in the suburbs, well, a large villa of several hundred square meters usually costs the most at this price. The most important thing is that Lima spent the money without letting Zhu pay a penny. It was her own savings. What? Zhu held his chin and said in surprise, this is very strange. Will, the founder and owner of biodang, how could this be? Zhu was puzzled, but he didn't think so much at the moment. Instead, he mentioned it to Alexander a little bit and asked him to investigate afterwards. And the next time, Zhu and Lima wandered around the shop. Lima happily and constantly described her ideas to Zhu Ke. Since the beginning of 2000, Lima left the runway and retired from the modeling industry. Under Zhu's arrangement, he chose the fashion industry. For this reason, he studied fashion design at the California School of Art. Now it has been almost a year. In Zhu Ke's words, if you have learned too much, it is better to open a store to actually operate. Ever since, there is this small shop in front of me, Zhu, the clothing, bags, keychains, shoes that this small store will sell in the future. Do you really consider introducing other brands of products? Lima worried. Of course not, Zhu Kellen said. We do not expect this store to make money, it is only to realize your dream. From now on, the products of this store, clothing, bags, keychains, shoes, etc., will only be sold for the product you design. At the same time, I have thought about the name of this fashion store, Fat Girl. What do you think? That girl. Hearing that, Lima chewed the word repeatedly, and suddenly felt very good. Zhu Ke said again, not only that, I also wrote a special song. The name is also Fat Girl. Fat Girl, write a song. Well, Zhu plagiarized again very shamelessly. When it comes to the products of the European and American entertainment industry, Zhu Ke is most familiar with the movies. The first one is naturally movies. All kinds of popular movies have been seen in the past life. But, songs? Zhu Ke has heard a lot, but there are not many that can be fully restored. To be honest, in 1997, when the first season of the talent show started, Zhu Ke shamelessly plagiarized the song Sold Out and used it as the theme song of the talent show. Due to the popularity of the talent show, the song Sold Out has also become popular throughout the United States. So far, Zhu Ke has earned a lot of fame now. The shameless Zhu is here again. The song Fat Girl was a song released in 2016. Once it was released, it became popular in North America. Even in the Great China, its audience was very large on major websites such as Station B, UC, etc., as long as they play videos from European and American movies and TV series, especially The Clown Jerome and Jerome in Gotham, and The Clown Girl in Suicide Squad. The background music mostly the song Fat Girl. Thank you, Zhu. My dearest. Lima plunged into Zhu's arms. Haha, these are all trivial matters. What does Zhu value Lima most? Appearance? No. To be honest, www.wuxiaspit.com. Looking at the whole Hollywood, there are more people who are more beautiful than Lima. It is even said that Lima's appearance is not considered beautiful by the traditional beauty standards of the East. But Zhu likes it. The most important thing is that Lima is very clean and self-conscious. In the history of the original time and space, Adriana Lima is one of the most famous supermodels in the world. She has been on the runway for 20 years. At the same time, she is also one of the few female models who have not been scandalized. You know, the dirty things in the modeling world are even worse than in the entertainment world. In this case, she can cleanse herself and make herself better, and Zhu will not be psychologically answered. Zhu, I heard that Harry Potter is about to be released. Don't you need to pay attention? Lima asked suddenly. Zhu Ke smiled and said, I am the chairman. If I do everything myself, What do Victor and others do? Moreover, the old Bill is about to retire, and Harry Potter is the last project he is responsible for. I believe he can handle it well, and even said that what he did, I will be even better. The first update is sent. Chapter 425, Warner takes the lead out. A few days later, Warner Brothers. Pictures today, the executives of Warner Brothers. Pictures, no matter how busy they are, or even if they are working in other places, they have rushed back to the company. Can you not be there, man? You need to know who is here today, but Steve Case and Steve Rose, an executive from Warner Brothers. Pictures said solemnly. Steve Case, founder of AOL, currently serves as chairman and CEO of AOL Time Warner. Steve Ross, the former chairman of Time Warner Group, currently serves as the vice chairman, executive director, and executive president of AOL Time Warner. These two great figures, who came here to visit Warner Brothers. Pictures, were like the ancient emperor, not to mention that they are now coming together. Be smart, if anyone dares to make him laugh. How do you think I can deal with him? President Barry Meyer warned the executives heavily. Hearing that, many people nodded immediately like garlic, but still a few people turned a blind eye to Barry Meyer's words. For example, John Rothred, male, 45 years old, is an executive assigned to Warner Brothers. Pictures after AOL acquired Time Warner Group, his main task is to restrain the power of President Barry Meyer and commit himself to let AOL executives control the power of Warner, one of the 6 major Hollywood players. Merger of the two companies, haha. Now it seems that it is a joke at all, fighting incessantly, especially with the outbreak of the internet bubble. The newly merged AOL Time Warner can be described as a lot of internal contradictions. Not long after, the door of the meeting room was pushed open. Steve Case and Steve Rose, two big bosses named Steve, walked into the meeting room together. Mr. Case, Mr. Rose. Everyone in the conference room all got up and said hello. Sit down. Steve Case, as the current chairman, naturally sits in the first place uncompromisingly. Well, this position originally belonged to the former chairman of Steve Rose. The tone is cold. An executive couldn't help muttering. Hearing that, an executive next to him couldn't help but raise his brows, and said in a low voice, the faces of the two big guys are both straightforward. It must be a crime. Sure enough, the purpose of my coming to Warner Brothers. Pictures today is very simple. That is, I am very dissatisfied with your work performance. As the current chairman of the board, Steve Case said coldly, Warner Brothers. Pictures performance in the first half of 2000 was down 17% year-on-year compared to last year. Someone might find excuses, saying that it was due to the company's integration period. Run-in. Oh, a good excuse. So, what about the performance in the second half of this year? 23%. In the second half of this year, your performance fell by 23%, the biggest decline for Warner Brothers. Pictures since 1990. Tisk tut, don't you guys still make excuses? Hearing that, all the Warner executives present were extremely ugly. President Barry Meyer's mouth moved slightly, and he stopped talking. Boom. Suddenly, Steve Case came to the scene and roared, Warner Brothers. Pictures performance this year, properly ranked among the top 6 in Hollywood, even worse than Zhu Ke Wald's company. You still have what face? Shame. Everyone was silent. President Barry Meyer was ashamed. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't say it. Warner Brothers. Pictures performance this year has fallen sharply. Why? The reason is simple, serious internal dumping. John Lossard. He is the current vice president of Warner Brothers. Pictures and is in charge of the production department. However, his previous decades of work have been in the internet industry. Where does he know about film and television production? If the layman doesn't understand the movie, then forget it. The most important thing is that he is still busy seizing power from Barry Meyer. Haha. Under such internal and external difficulties, if Warner Brothers. Pictures can do well, then hell, cough cough cough. At this moment, Steve Rose, the former chairman of Warner and the current vice chairman of AOL Time Warner, stood up and became a peacemaker. Everyone, do you understand what Mr. Case said? The decline in performance is a problem that we must face and pay attention to. Therefore, I mean that we will not pursue your incompetence for the time being, but give priority to solving the current situation. Dilemma. Rose spread his hands and said coldly, we only have one movie this year during the Christmas schedule in December, which is far worse than in previous years. Moreover, the production cost of beauty pageant is only more than $54 million, which is far less well made than other films, and the advantages are very unobvious. So, How can we reshape Warner's glory this Christmas time? Very simple, win this fight. The voice fell. The expressions of everyone present looked pretty good. It's the old leader after all, a Warner executive whispered. Yes, an executive whispered back, Mr. Ross is able to understand us because he understands and understands movies, but these on AOL will only add to the chaos. However, the breath that had just let go was stuck. Ross, the current chairman, insists on abolishing a group of incompetent people. Undoubtedly, these so-called incompetent people are senior workers of the original Warner line. In fact, this is doing cleaning. After more than an hour, the meeting ended. Chairman Steve Case left straight away as the former chairman of the board. Steve Rose did not leave directly, but stayed and chatted with Barry Mayer. Lone boom, bastard. In the beginning I shouldn't have agreed to the AOL acquisition, a $181 billion acquisition? The largest acquisition in history? It looks like a joke now, whether it is Warner Brothers Pictures, or the parent company Time Warner Group, or even any of its subsidiaries. They are all messed up now. At this moment, where does Steve Rose still have the calm and gentleness before? Violence, hostility, anger, depression, regret, all kinds of negative emotions completely occupied his brain. Hey, President Barry Meyer sighed. Yesterday I saw the news and said that the guy Zhu Ke Wald put down all his work, went shopping with his little girlfriend Lima, and even opened a small store without doing business. However, we are not as good as him now. You do not say. During the Christmas period, Wald Pictures is under great pressure, but at least there are few internal struggles. Even if there is, it is currently controlled within a set range. It is beneficial internal competition, not infighting. As the saying goes, good things don't go out. www.wooksiaspit.com. Bad things spread thousands of miles away. No, not long after this Warner Brothers Pictures conference ended, it spread throughout Hollywood. Many people are so happy. Zhu Ke smiled and said, Warner is over for this Christmas timeline. Murdoch, the boss of Fox in the 20th century, said, the world's largest media company is so vulnerable? Haha. Disney's Michael Eisner said, the world says that Disney's internal struggle is serious and raged, but now it seems that Warner's problem is more serious than ours. This is really good news, Universal Pictures said. Warner will do nothing this Christmas time. The Christmas schedule has not yet officially started. As one of the big six, Warner was the first to be out, still tying himself into a cocoon, and could not help but amaze the entire Hollywood studios. The second update is sent. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.